The Batman TV series 2004 to 2008. There have been so many versions of The Dark Knight that it becomes important to unravel some of the more underrated variants. The Batman is an animated series that ran from 2004 to 2008, and with its Emmy-winning design and tone, it broke away from the Gothic tones of the past while focusing on a younger, less seasoned Bruce Wayne as he begins his career as a crime fighter. The show offered a new take on the history of Gotham's Guardian, with its sleek and contemporary depiction of DC's famous Dark Knight throughout its 5 seasons. Alright, let's dive into the new version of Gotham itself as the city's protector delves into the concepts of duty, justice, and morality while delivering action-packed episodes with poignancy. Also, for the sake of your love for Batman and everything animated, do like our content and subscribe to our channel. Season 1, 2004 to 2005. Episode 1, The Bat in the Belfry. Batman storms the luxurious penthouse of Rupert Thorne, a notorious gangster. As his men fall one by one to the Dark Knight's precision, Thorne makes a desperate escape, leaping out a window to the ledge of a water tower across the street. Batman follows without hesitation, his agility unmatched. The pursuit ends swiftly, with Batman knocking Thorne unconscious. Later, in the quiet of the Batcave, Bruce Wayne sheds his cape and cowl. Alfred, ever faithful, surprises him with an anniversary cake. It's been 3 years since Bruce first became Batman. For a brief moment, Bruce reflects on his mission and silently rededicates it to the memory of his parents, Thomas and Martha Wayne. The next day, Bruce watches Chief Angel Rojas on the news, vowing to bring down Gotham's vigilante. Meanwhile, an uninvited guest checks in at Arkham Asylum, a ghastly clown calling himself the Joker, the ultimate nemesis of the mighty Batman. Chaos erupts when the Joker escapes his cell, leaving a trail of unconscious staff, each with a grotesque grin thanks to his signature Joker gas. Freeing the other inmates, the Joker sets Gotham's worst loose upon the city. Bruce, attending a Gotham Gators basketball game with 2 women, is interrupted by an urgent alert from the Batcave. With little explanation, he leaves the game, abandoning his companions to address the crisis. At Gotham City Police Headquarters, Rojas introduces Detective Ethan Bennett to his new partner, Ellen Yin, a former Metropolis detective tasked with taking down Batman. Their attention quickly shifts to the Arkham breakout, and they race to the scene. As Batman infiltrates Arkham, he discovers a giant jack-in-the-box at the entrance. The police approach cautiously, but the box explodes, forcing them to retreat. Inside, Batman encounters the Joker for the first time, a madman who mocks Batman's choice to fight crime dressed as a bat. Their fight is intense, but the Joker escapes, leaving Batman with one of his gas victims to study back at the Batcave. The following day, Ethan visits Bruce and shares his belief that Batman may be a force for good. Meanwhile, Batman uncovers the Joker's plan to release his deadly gas citywide. Tracking the clown to the abandoned Monarch Theatre, Batman confronts him again, this time with the police close behind. The Joker escapes aboard a giant hot air balloon, but Batman pursues in the Batboat. He sabotages the balloon, sending it into Gotham Bay, where the gas disperses harmlessly. As the episode ends, the design of the characters brings a breath of fresh air to the 20s animation field. In fact, the design was influenced by Japanese anime, with smooth action sequences and sleek character designs, a signature of those years. Episode 2, Call of the Cobblepot. A posh elderly woman, Mrs. Vintrup, returns from an exhausting party to her room and puts her pet down to take a quick shower. But first, she removes her impressive jewellery and puts it on display. As she enjoys her bath, her pet dog howls frantically as it senses the presence of a mysterious owl. Miraculously, the owl snatches the necklace and flies away, creating a mess in its aftermath. When Mrs. Vintrup returns from her bath, she immediately alerts the police, and Detective Ellen Yin and Ethan Bennett show up. They discuss how to best approach their investigation, unknowingly that Batman was also present. He snoops around for some evidence, manages to find one, and takes it back to his den to investigate. After thorough research, he gleans some knowledge. Someone trained a rare bird to do dirty tricks. Meanwhile, Alfred reminds Bruce that he has a charity event to go to. Bruce, who who'd much rather dig deeper into the string of recent jewelry crimes, agrees to get ready for the night. At the charity event, a shady figure shows up. Oswald Cobblepot and two kabuki ladies. Bruce Wayne greets Oswald, who promptly chases an attractive woman, only to be rebuffed by her. Later on, as Bruce is talking to Ethan and Ellen, the same lady shouts and says, "A bird attacked her." It rings certain bells for Bruce, who decides to follow up on it. Meanwhile, Cobblepot's attitude and lackadaisical nature annoy Alfred, who repeatedly reminds Cobblepot that his name is not on the list for that night's event. To that, Cobblepot throws a wad of bills towards Fire as a contribution to the charity and takes off. Later that night, Batman follows a bird trail that leads him straight to the Kabuki twins. He immediately realizes that the recent burglaries are tied to Oswald Cobblepot after all. The show threw a new spin on this classic villain, who was portrayed as a greedy entrepreneur. Anyhow, Alfred follows another trail that leads him to the Cobblepot mansion. There, he comes across the depopulated estate and understands what Cobblepot intends. On the other hand, Bruce discovers concrete proof of Cobblepot's chain of crimes and immediately sets off to find him. But he needs his butler first, who is not there. Bruce calls to check up on Alfred, and at the mansion, the ringtone gives away Alfred's ruse. Cobblepot chases the poor old butler into a trap, and he is about to harm him mortally using his insipid birds when Batman arrives at the scene. The villain dukes it out with the hero, as is the norm, and eventually loses the match. Batman leaves the bird, aka Penguin Cobblepot, to a new cage, a prison cell. Episode 3. Traction. Deep beneath the underbelly of Gotham City, a pair of crime bosses discuss how to best beat the impregnable Batman as another crime boss, a bit old, interrupts their conversation. The series' portrayal of Gotham City was grim and gritty, as seen here. The old crime boss offers to put them out of their misery by introducing them to a masked man named Bane. According to the old crime boss, Bane is a mercenary with inhuman strength, a perfect match to stop the mighty Batman. Though skeptical, the other two bosses soon agree to join hands with the aging crime boss to employ Bane to combat Batman. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne's is tinkering with some leftover equipment from Wayne Industries when there is a certain explosion. Luckily, not a very big one to begin with. The explosion ends up with spraying good old Alfred's suit with nachos. However, there is a certain tear in his suit, which makes him comment on how nice it would be if someone could tailor a new suit for Batman's butler. Out in the city, Bane hijacks a vehicle and tosses the two officers within it like a ragdoll. He creates enough fear that Bruce Wayne gets a signal on his Batwave. He immediately suits up and sets off to find the source. Meanwhile, even the detectives Ethan Bennett and Ellen Yin get the distress call. Ellen remarks that maybe Batman has decided that being a vigilante was not paying very much. They drive off to the location, but Batman gets there first. There, at the site of chaos, he realizes that the whole thing was a setup to lure him there. At that moment, Bane shows up, challenging the mighty hero to a fight, one that he so gallantly announces would be the very last fight of Batman's life. Scoffing at it, the pair fights, and at first, Batman is able to hold his ground against Bane, but soon enough, he gets overwhelmed and is thrown roughly against a brick wall. The resulting impact knocked Batman out, and Bane turned out to be the victorious guy. Later on, Ellen and Ethan arrive at the scene and find nothing short of mayhem there. They asked the tied-up officers who were responsible, and they tried to describe Bane. At first, Ellen thought it was Batman, but the officers said the huge masked man threw Batman against a wall. Quickly, the duo goes to investigate but finds no one there. Skeptical, they call out certain orders to weed out Batman and look for the new masked intruder. Meanwhile, Alfred is driving an injured Batman to medical assistance, but Bruce vehemently opposes the idea of going to a hospital. Left with no choice whatsoever, Alfred agrees to operate on Bruce. For a while, a flashback of a young Bruce and Alfred flashed through the butler's mind as he began operating on our hero. Time flew by as Bruce Wayne convalesced, and Bane rampaged most of Gotham City. Batman's absence caused a lot of speculation, which obviously distressed Bruce. However, Alfred thought it might be for the better, and now, Bruce can move along with other things in his life. Not quite accepting it, Bruce began to work on another of his suits. Alfred caught Bruce in action, and though he did not like it, he agreed to help. Meanwhile, Bane was on his usual rampaging when Ellen decided to confront him. Little did she know that Batman was on his way too. A quick confrontation happened, where the overconfident Bane was painstakingly defeated and turned over to custody. However, Ellen, who was recovering from her confrontation with Bane in a hospital, remarks how nothing has changed regarding the Batman mystery even now.
Thanks.
Episode 4. The Cat and the Bat. A woman dressed up in a catsuit wiggles her way into the mansion of the infamous Hideo Katsu. She, Catwoman, intends to steal a pricey artifact, but before she can get her hands on it, the ruse seems to be up. Sensing danger, Catwoman flees, without the dragon statue. The next day, the news of the robbery attempt at the Katsu mansion goes viral on news channels, where many speculate a possible team-up between Catwoman and Batman. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne is watching the same news. To be fair, he had been trailing Hideo Katsu for a while, as his butler so generously reminded him. Nevertheless, Batman isn't overly fond of the media connecting the mysterious Catwoman with him. On the other hand, the Catwoman, Selina Kyle, returns to her apartment and to her beloved cats to find a newspaper linking her and Batman. She decides to check the other vigilante out, so she sets up a trap to get him where she wants. Just like clockwork, the trap works, and Batman meets the snarky Catwoman. A little game of chase ensues, and it ends with Catwoman stealing away Batman's utility belt. Talk about nightmares. She takes the belt to her place and starts to tinker with it, much to Batman's chagrin, because whatever she does, it creates a nuisance for Bruce Wayne at his place. However, he and Alfred manage to make the most of the situation, and Bruce decides he needs to track the Catwoman soon. At her apartment, Catwoman has finally figured out how to use Batman's utility belt, another heist to steal from Hideo Katsu. However, she doesn't know Katsu is waiting just for that. As she navigates the security this time, she easily steals the dragon statue using the utility belt, but on her way out, she finds herself ambushed. Katsu demands to know which family of crime lords, Yakuzas, sent her, but she merely scoffs. In truth, she steals from the wealth for sport. She doesn't need to be a part of any organized crime, but as she tries to escape, she finds herself cornered. Fortunately for the Catwoman, Batman arrives just in time. The duo then teams up and fights their way out of Katsu's hold. However, she ends up leaving without the dragon statue, but she isn't very dismayed about that. In fact, she also returns Batman's utility belt to him and makes a sneaky exit, just like cats do. Later on, the news channels reveal the involvement of Katsu with Yakuza families. Detective Ellen confirms that it was a team effort by the two vigilantes of Gotham, Batman and Catwoman, which led to the discovery of Katsu trying to expand criminal activities. However, our beloved vigilante isn't as overly thrilled as one might expect him to be, so he simply groans in annoyance. Episode 5. The Man Who Would Be Bat. Detective Bennett and Yin are chasing after Batman again when a group of bats cuts their chase short. The bats led the duo straight to Wayne Industries. Surprisingly for them, not so surprising for us. Ellen decides it is time. Bruce Wayne starts explaining things, and thus confronts him. She demands to inspect Wayne Industries. As it turns out, Bruce was in no position to counter, and thus took them all for a tour. They come across Dr. Kirk Langstrom's lab, which had more bats than an actual bat cave. Ellen instantly starts questioning Dr. Langstrom, who turns out to be quite evasive about it. The detectives leave after a fruitless conversation, but Bruce Wayne isn't so easily swayed. He hammers Langstrom about his failure to present proper research papers. However, playing on Bruce's compassionate side, Langstrom shows him a portrait of a little girl, Carly. He tells Bruce that the girl has been deaf for a while and he wants to cure her. In fact, he is closer than ever to a breakthrough. Choosing to believe the scientist, Bruce leaves. But later, Alfred cautions him. So, he decides to give the little girl a visit, and that's when he finds out how much of a liar Dr. Langstrom is. The girl was never deaf. Bruce storms the scientist's research lab, only to find him overtly obsessed with Batman. The scientist sneaks up on Bruce and relays his plan to have the fear and power Batman has over Gotham. Suddenly, he drinks up a potion, the fruit of his actual research, that turns him into a man-bat. Delirious with hunger, The Man-Bat takes a flight before Bruce can do anything to stop it and heads sad straight to the Gotham Zoo. As Bruce quickly tries to follow the Man-Bat, he finds himself once again being cornered by the two detectives, who have returned with a search warrant to look into Dr. Langstrom's lab. However, with a clock ticking, Bruce doesn't have long to wait up and chat them up. Fortunately, he didn't have to. At the moment, the detectives get a distress call, which they assume is Batman's handiwork. As soon as the duo leaves, Bruce changes into Batman and goes out to look for the new bat in town. He soon catches Man-Bat and tries to talk some sense into him, but the old scientist is more interested in finding out who is the strongest bat. Meanwhile, Ellen and Ethan appear at the scene, only to find Batman standing there. But before they can unmask him, he flees and runs against time to stop Man-Bat. Ellen and Ethan split up, but before they can solve anything, Man-Bat takes Ethan with him. However, Batman is quick to follow, as it is his friend who is in trouble. He tracks the new bat to his cave and rescues Ethan. Then, he goes about defeating the mad scientist turned Man-Bat. As the dust settles, Ethan cuffs Dr. Langstrom and takes him into custody. He is sent to the asylum, where he bids time once more to see who is the strongest bat. Episode 6. The Big Chill. The hottest summer days are upon Gotham. The entire city is sweltering and everyone is looking for a brief reprieve. Out at the sea, Cruz is sailing merrily on its way when it comes across an iceberg smack at the very middle of their route. As soon as they hit it, a man who introduces himself as Mr. Freeze appears on the scene, threatening to turn everyone into ice sculptures if they didn't hand over their jewelry. Terrified, the members of the ship do as they are told. Once he is done looting them, Mr. Freeze flees before authorities arrive. Meanwhile, Batman is hard at work. Alfred jokes that so much crime fighting and so little vacation would make Bruce a dull man. Just then, through the Batwave, they receive the news of Mr. Freeze and his cold heist. Immediately, Bruce suits up as Batman and sets off to chase this man. However, when he shows up at Freeze's next location, the man gloats about a perfect reunion. Slowly, it dawns on Bruce that his man is Victor Fries, who was once a regular thief, but after his unfortunate brush with a cryogenic lab, he has turned into a monster. In the present, Freeze is about to deal the final blow when Detective Ellen and Ethan arrive. The villain flees for now, but it puts Batman in a risky position. However, as luck would have it, his identity remains intact, but his health takes a severe blow. The mighty hero catches a trifling cold. At his home, Bruce shivers with not only cold, but also guilt. Ever since he saw what happened to Victor Freeze, he blames himself. He thinks maybe he was a criminal just like all others, and his vigilante crime fighting wasn't as selfless as he thought it was. However, while he considers taking a permanent vacation from being the Batman, he has a flashback from when he was a child. The eye-opening flashback, literally and figuratively, changed his way of thinking. Meanwhile, Alfred had made Batman's suit adaptable to cold weather. Bruce, positively coming to his senses, dons his new weather-appropriate suit and sets off to find and fight Freeze once more. In an ice dome of his own making, Freeze determines he is destined for more. However, his destiny of greatness ends up having a short life as Batman arrives and finally realizes it's time for Freeze to stop throwing blame around for how he ended up. The duo fight, and while Freeze is powerful enough, Batman manages to gain the upper hand this time. After defeating Freeze, he leaves him to his fate at the hands of the cops and sets off to fight another crime in Gotham City.
Working late?
The night shift? Like you, Batman.
Episode 7. The Big Heat. After the Big Chill comes the Big Heat, in the shape of a new criminal, the Firefly. Out on the streets of Gotham, our favourite vigilante is going after this Firefly, who turns out to be quite a match for him. As he chases the criminal, he is shocked to realise how advanced the new foe's technologies are. Meanwhile, Alfred reminds Batman of his meeting with Mayor Grange tomorrow morning, or, as it happens, today morning. Giving up his futile chase for the Firefly for now, Batman once again becomes Bruce Wayne and waits for the mayor to show up. However, the mayor did not bring happy news to share. Apparently, due to Bruce Wayne's flamboyant reputation, the City Hall is leaning toward diverting funds to the Goth Corps instead of building a children's hospital. Dismayed, Bruce tries to persuade Mayor Grange, who out of sympathy for the boy, gives him another chance to present his case. The next day, at 8 a.m. sharp. As Bruce returns home, he searches for more information on the Goth Core, but is interrupted when he gets a new signal. He sets out as Batman to check it out, and finds himself in a battle with the Firefly again. However, like last time, Firefly proved to be a formidable opponent and left Batman hanging, literally, once more. But Batman had more pressing issues than the Firefly, like the urgent meeting at the City Hall, for which he has exactly 5 minutes. Batman immediately sets off to free himself and runs straight to the meeting, but he ended up being late anyhow, and the City Hall decided in favour of the Goth Corps. Dismayed, he returned home, thinking hard and fast about his failure as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. Suddenly, something catches his attention: the recent string of bankruptcy of all the industries, and the one who benefits from it all, the Goth Corps. Connecting the simple dots, it didn't take long for Batman to realise that Firefly was working under the thumb of the Goth Corps. Thus, Bruce Wayne saw an opportunity and set a bait for the Firefly. Sure enough, like a moth to the flame, Firefly came straight at the Wayne Industries after Bruce circulated a potential new project on the news. However, Firefly wasn't a bit intimidated by the vigilante hero, and his cockiness earned him his defeat. Later on, the City Hall ruled in favour of building the Children's Hospital once the crimes of the Goth Corps saw the light of day. Episode 8, Question and Answer. A blonde man, Ross Darren, is engaged in a ribbon-cutting ceremony when 2 small children play little tricks on him. In the ensuing chaos, the 2 children abduct Ross. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne is attending an event at the concert hall. He is one of the main donors for the upkeep and welfare of the theatre. There is another special guest, Herbert Zeglar. He ceremoniously performs on a piano when some crazy tricks start happening once more. As was before, the 2 children use the tricks as a cover to snatch away Zeglar. However, this time, Bruce Wayne is here. He quickly steps into the role of Batman and chases after them, but it ends up being a little misguided. Later on, Bruce Wayne researches the 2 recent abductions and realises that there is a connection. Years ago, Ross Darren hosted a show in which a kid named Arthur Brown, who was intelligent enough to know the answer to any question, was tricked for money. Unfortunately, the money went to Herbert, and the winner was a girl named Yelena Keimanoff. Everything apparently went downhill from there for Arthur, and now it's clear he is plotting something. Meanwhile, Ross and Herbert are truly being kept by Arthur in a basement. He is biding his time to get the 3rd piece in place, and then his twisted game would begin. Bruce Wayne, though, knows who is the next piece: Yelena, who now is a renowned chess player. As predicted, Yelena gets abducted by those same children. However, Batman arrives to confront the little creatures. However, even though he is stronger than them, their sheer number overwhelms him, and he loses Yelena to Arthur's minions. At Arthur's house, Yelena gets thrown into a game that resembles the game show Think Thank Thunk, but way deadlier. Arthur gives them the chance to ask him any question, and if he cannot answer 3 times, they go free. But if he can, they get dunked into hot acid. Scary, no, especially since there is no question that this man doesn't have an answer to. True enough, Arthur starts to gain points, and the threat of acid starts to arise. However, Batman arrives just in time and beats Arthur at his own game. He simply asks about the true identity of Batman. Arthur never was the one to take losing graciously, so when Batman outwits him, he starts to throw a hissy tantrum, but fortunately, Batman tackles him and knocks the big man out. Later on, Bruce Wayne, who was never the one for games, proposed a checker match to his loyal butler for a change. Episode 9, The Big Dummy. At a dilapidated warehouse, an old man stares at a covered puppet, Scarface. Later, the man, Arnold Wesker, and 2 thugs pull off shady bank heists. Nevertheless, one of the thugs expresses how dumb Scarface is, which angers the puppet, because believe it or not, he's a living puppet. Scarface puts the thug's life in danger, but before it can crush him, the thug apologizes profusely. Meanwhile, back at Wayne's house, Alfred and Bruce talk about the recent strange robberies that seem to have no direct connection. As Bruce switches the monitor on to check something, he comes across a dating site Alfred has created for Bruce. According to the butler, it was time for Bruce to drop the flamboyant act and actually let some nice girl know him. Suddenly, Batwave catches a distress signal and Batman goes to investigate. He finds two big thugs red-handed and fights them. Meanwhile, Scarface and Arnold watch from the shadows. Just when the two thugs seem defeated, Scarface reveals himself and quips, "Say hello to my little friend," indicating Arnold. This clever comment is a reference to the 1983 Scarface movie. Anyhow, Batman, baffled at a talking puppet, tries to stop them, but the culprits manage to escape. Later on, Bruce searches more about the puppet and gleans some useful information. Suddenly, a message-approved request arrives on the screen from the dating site. Someone named Becky. Bruce sighs at Alfred's matchmaking endeavor. Meanwhile, Scarface and his gang are pulling off another heist. Every time he promises Arnold it'll be the last one. The old man simply wants to take a vacation somewhere nice and quiet. Once again, Batman arrives to fend them off and almost succeeds in breaking Scarface apart. But Arnold saves the puppet and frantically takes him somewhere he can revive it. Batman gives chase, but this time the puppet is not a little doll, but a big dummy. As Scarface is robbing another bank, Batman arrives and finds himself fighting with a gigantic puppet a bit rough, but eventually he manages to defeat him. However, the kind-hearted Arnold laments the loss of his puppet friend. Batman consoles the man by commenting how everyone has somewhere else they'd rather be. Episode 10, Topsy-Turvy. Batman was no stranger to the Joker's twisted mind games, but this crime was different. The attack had all the hallmarks of his arch-nemesis, right down to the signature calling card, except for one crucial detail. The Joker had been locked away in Arkham Asylum ever since his first defeat in the Bat in the Belfry. He hadn't escaped, not once. Determined to unravel the mystery, Batman studied the Joker's patterns and soon uncovered the villain's latest scheme, creating a gruesome human deck of 52 victims. His next stop was the Joker's last known hideout, hoping to find a lead. Instead, he found something far worse. Joker himself, or so it seemed. After a brief but brutal fight, Batman realized his opponent wasn't the real Joker, but an Arkham employee, terrified into playing his part. The mastermind had been in Arkham all along, orchestrating chaos from within. Batman wasted no time infiltrating Arkham Asylum. Storming into Joker's cell, he demanded answers, but the clown prince of crime was always one step ahead. With a devilish grin, Joker turned the tables, overpowering Batman and locking him inside the very cell meant to contain Gotham's greatest terror. Then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, Joker was gone, off to complete his grand finale at the abandoned Gotham Palace Theatre. Trapped, Batman did what he did best, adapted. Disguising himself as the Joker, he managed to slip past Arkham's security and escape, racing to the theatre before it was too late. There, Joker's victims, detectives Bennett and Yin among them, hung in helpless terror, his cruel joke coming to fruition. One by one, they would be flung into Gotham River, discarded like playing cards. As Joker marked Detective Yin as his latest conquest, Batman arrived. The battle was fast and ferocious, the stakes higher than ever. While Bennett worked to free Yin, Batman took the fight to Joker. A final, well-placed punch sent the clown tumbling right into his own device. In a fitting twist of fate, the Joker was immobilized, trapped within a massive playing card designed in his own likeness. Back at the Batcave, Batman exhaled. Another night, another battle won, but as he surveyed the collection of Joker cards scattered across his desk, he muttered to himself, weariness creeping into his voice. Episode 11, Bird of Prey. This episode begins with a confrontation with an old foe, Penguin Cobblepot, who is on the run from Batman. Greedy as ever, Cobblepot had again conned someone out of money, but fortunately, Batman foils his nefarious plans way before he can get away. Later on, Cobblepot watches a news report about Bruce Wayne and fumes with anger. He hates Bruce as much as he hates Batman for being handsome and rich. Suddenly, a crazy idea springs up in his mind. He decides that Bruce has more than enough money, making him the ultimate target of his next heist. At Wayne Manor, Alfred pushes Bruce to keep up a public image. Reluctantly, Bruce agrees to be on a day-in-the-life interview. Soon enough, A reporter and a cameraman arrive at Bruce's house to monitor his everyday life. As Wayne shows them the kitchen, Alfred informs them that dinner will be ready later. So naturally, Bruce takes the reporter and his cameraman to Wayne Industries. Meanwhile, Alfred gets an unwelcome visitor, Cobblepot, who takes him hostage as the Kabuki twins rampage and steal. With no way out, Alfred decides to play along, but as soon as Cobblepot leaves him alone, he calls Bruce. However, Cobblepot catches him, but instead of ending the call, he waits for Bruce to pick up. Once Bruce answers, he instantly recognizes Cobblepot's voice, but pretends he is talking to a girl to avoid any confusion while he is being monitored by the reporter. Later on, he shakes them off and heads straight for his house after changing into the Batman suit, of course. Meanwhile, the reporters decide that they'll follow the man, but when they arrive, they see a fight ensuing between Batman and Cobblepot. At first, Cobblepot overpowers Batman and almost succeeds in revealing his true identity, but somehow Alfred manages to smack Cobblepot down long enough for Batman to recover and fight back. This time though, he wasn't so easily defeated by the greedy little man. As the episode ends, Bruce Wayne arrives at the scene. However, the female reporter gets a little skeptical about how they haven't seen Bruce and Batman at the same time. Just then, a dark shape, the Dark Knight, leaps from the top and rides away in his Batmobile. Episode 12. The Rubber Face of Comedy. Chaos erupts in Gotham as the Joker unveils his latest creation, Joker Putty. With a mere touch, the strange substance melts and reshapes any surface, warping reality into his twisted image. His first act? Remaking artifacts and landmarks into grotesque parodies of themselves. But before he can make his escape, the cops arrive, forcing him into a chaotic retreat. As always, the clown prince of crime has a trick up his sleeve, slipping through their fingers with a cackle. At the GCPD, Chief Rojas is livid, crime is skyrocketing, and he refuses to tolerate the madness any longer. Under his strict zero-tolerance policy, both the Joker and Batman must be brought to justice. No exceptions. Detective Ethan Bennett, however, hesitates. He suggests working with Batman rather than against him, a notion that Rojas shuts down immediately. With a glare, the chief demands Ethan pick a side before it's too late. Later that evening, Joker strikes again, this time targeting a newly constructed statue. Batman intervenes, but so do detectives Bennett and Ellen Yin. As Ellen chases the Joker, Ethan sets his sights on Batman instead, torn between duty and instinct. Batman urges him to recognize the real threat, but Joker seizes the moment to taunt him, sowing further doubt. The night spirals into chaos, ending with Joker's escape and Ethan's left to face Rojas's inevitable wrath. In the aftermath, Bruce Wayne makes a bold decision. He can't fight Gotham's darkness while also keeping a secret from his closest friend. Someday, it might unravel, and before that happens, he decides to tell Ethan the truth himself. Meanwhile, Rojas berates Bennett for his failure, issuing one final warning: mess up again, and his badge is gone. Before Bruce gets the chance to reveal his secret, Joker strikes again. Determined to prove himself, Ethan rushes into action, as does Bruce, this time as Batman. But the night takes a dangerous turn when Ethan is captured and dragged into Joker's funhouse. The villain revels at the moment, trying to break Ethan's sanity, but Ellen arrives just in time. In the ensuing struggle, a canister of Joker Putty shatters, releasing toxic fumes. Ethan inhales the gas, choking as it seeps into his system. Joker is finally apprehended, but when Ethan dares to credit Batman for the capture during a live interview, Rojas suspends him on the spot. That night, alone in his apartment, Ethan still feels the effects of the gas. However, he still promises to meet his dear friend, Bruce, tomorrow and hangs up. He stumbles into the bathroom, gripping the sink. His reflection stares back at him, sickly and pale. He rubs his face and watches in horror as his skin shifts beneath his fingers, shifting just like clay. Episode 13. The Clay Face of Tragedy. This episode begins where the last left off. Ethan, whose face was melting like clay, realized that his whole body was now nothing but that. Terrified of his new self, he runs out on the street beseeching for a little help from everyone, but they're simply too scared of him. At that moment, 2 police officers arrive, but they cannot recognize Bennett anymore. He's Clayface now, and they try to shoot him down, but somehow he manages to escape. Batman, who got a Batwave call and watched the whole debacle with Clayface, realized how he escaped through the vents that lead to Gotham's underground sewage. Ethan, on the other hand, emerges from the vent in front of Rojas's house, where he sees him giving an interview. Steadily, he sneaked into Rojas's house and attacked him. However, Batman arrives just in time to save Rojas, but loses Clayface. But, refusing to back down, he follows Clayface's tail and ends up getting a little of its substance. Batman takes it back and realizes that there is mutated human DNA within the melting clay. Gears start turning in his head, and he realizes who Clayface really is, Ethan Bennett. Meanwhile, Clayface returns to his home and with much effort tries to change his face back to Ethan's. Fortunately, he discovers he can impersonate anyone he wishes to and realizes he can use it for himself. He takes the form of Ellen Yin and visits Chief Rojas again. This time, he manages to take the man captive. On the other hand, even Yin has realized who Clayface is and goes straight to Rojas, only to learn that someone resembling her is already inside with Rojas. Soon enough, Clayface's ruse is up, but he manages to still carry Rojas to a basketball court. But before he can harm Rojas, Batman and Yin arrive, both trying to urge and sense Ethan. However, he repeats what Joker told him. One bad day is enough to turn someone into a madman. Nevertheless, they try to stop him, but Ethan, shocked that Yin would side with Batman, goes away. Later on, Yin contemplates everything she knows and believes. She agrees with Bennett. Gotham needs Batman. Season 2, 2005, Episode 14, The Cat, the Bat, and the Very Ugly. Under the somber cover of the night, Catwoman tries to steal an important Egyptian artifact. However, much to her chagrin, another man is also there to steal the same thing, Penguin Cobblepot. At first, they quibble a little on who gets to take it away, but Cobblepot mentions that the artifact has a twin, and without the other, it is pretty much useless. Sensing the possible benefit of working together, Catwoman joins forces with Cobblepot. Later, the cops as well as Batman arrive on the scene. While the cops couldn't figure out much beyond the fact that the burglary reeks of Catwoman. However, Batman finds enough evidence to connect that Catwoman is working with the nefarious Cobblepot now. Meanwhile, within an old ship, the duo plots their next heist, get into Gotham City's museum, and steal the other statue. Nevertheless, Catwoman's loyalty is not specifically with Cobblepot. She is simply biding her time to double-cross him. However, unfortunately for her, before she can double-cross him, Cobblepot crosses her. At the same time, Batman arrives on the scene. He tries to fight both, but ends up getting handcuffed to Catwoman. That is rigged to explode. Fortunately, Batman defuses the bomb, and the duo are forced to work together. Meanwhile, Detective Yin contacts Batman regarding the case, but soon she is informed by one of her officers that Batman has been spotted alongside Catwoman. However, things have changed now. Yin is not as distrustful of Batman as she was before, so she confronts him, and Batman admits the situation is complicated, but he is doing what he can. As the call ends, Catwoman and Batman climb Cobblepot's hideout, but, as luck would have it, they're being attacked by the Kabuki twins. However, the duo fight surprisingly in sync and fends off their pursuers. They then quickly go after Cobblepot, and at first, Catwoman fights with Batman to sabotage Cobblepot, then even triple crosses him when she has freed her wrist from his. However, Batman tricks Catwoman and Cobblepot and ultimately cuffs them together as he takes away the two artifacts. He intends to keep them safe, and he relays that much to Detective Yin, who agrees to it now.
What's black and blue and green all over?
Episode 15, Riddled. A new foe runs amok the Gotham City, and he calls himself the Riddler. The GCPD are at the forefront of dealing with all the nuisance created by this Riddler, and unbeknownst to them, so is the Batman. However, not completely unknown though. This time, Batman has an ally within the GCPD, Ellen Yin. The duo tries together to solve the riddles set upon by the Riddler, with a clock ticking above their heads. As Batman helps Yin from the shadows, the Riddler decides it's time for him to play some some games with the young detective Ellen Yin herself. So, he announces to every policeman outside the building Ellen is that he has chosen Ellen to be a part of his game, and if she fails, the whole city blows up in smoke. With no choice but to agree, Ellen sets off solving riddle after riddle for the madman parading as the Riddler. It takes them to a bridge that has been rigged with explosives, and Yin has 3 minutes in total to stop it from fuming up. Meanwhile, Batman trails Yin and helps her using a communication device to solve the puzzle set out for her. Unfortunately for them, Chief Rojas also followed them, which ticked off the Riddler. In exchange, he took Ellen Yin with him. However, Batman quickly followed them, all while helping the detective to defuse the explosives. This time, the Riddler had taken Yin to a museum, but Batman senses something is off. Soon enough, Batman emerges from the shadows and reveals that what they thought were explosives were nothing but green gel. In fact, he has figured out what Riddler really wants. The pair go to confront the man, and Riddler confirms that he hadn't set traps for the GCPD, but for Batman himself. He takes Batman and Yin hostage and tries to unveil the true identity of the masked vigilante. However, he decides he would make a game out of it. With every wrong answer of yes or no, an electric current would hit Yin. At first, Batman doesn't believe it, but soon enough with every lie, Yin gets hit by the current. The Riddler asks random questions to identify the Batman, but Yin bursts out, saying she knows the real identity of the Dark Knight. It's Ethan Bennett. A lie, obviously. But it gives them enough of a leeway, and Batman tricks the Riddler into getting hit by his own electric current. A short scuffle ensues, where Batman and Yin work in tandem to defeat the Riddler for once and all. As the police escort the Riddler away, he taunts Chief Rojas about how Yin is the one working with Batman. However, the Chief simply scoffs at him, since according to him, Batman was nowhere in sight that day. Episode 16, Fire and Ice. A cold like any other has gripped the city of Gotham for the first time in many decades. While Gotham slumbers, however, Batman is as busy as ever. For starters, he has to go after the wicked mercenary, the Firefly, who is causing trouble once again. However, Firefly seemed to easily evade Batman, much to the hero's annoyance. Nevertheless, he still pursues him, but the chase gets cut short when Firefly blows up a petrol car to cause a distraction. Later, back at the Wayne Manor, another of Batman's duty calls him. This time, he has to go to an insufferable gala as Bruce Wayne. Tiring, isn't it? However, Alfred cautions him that it is necessary to keep up appearances, lest people come looking. Meanwhile, the mercenary Firefly has a new teammate, Mr. Freeze. The duo, with polar opposite abilities, joined hands to shroud the entire Gotham City in a state of permafrost. All of their recent heists are just stepping stones for the larger event. As Mr. Freeze goes to steal another thing he needs for his plan, Batman intervenes. Nevertheless, even with a valiant scuffle, Freeze gets what he wants. Batman has run out of time. For now, the time has come for him to revert to being the charismatic Bruce Wayne. At the gala, Bruce politely converses with Chief Rojas, even though he wishes he could be anywhere else but there. Fortunately, Yin comes to the rescue and whisks him away. Meanwhile, Freeze and Firefly are almost done with their arrangements, and the first place they target is the gala with all the police officers, including Bruce. However, a little quick thinking saves Bruce just in time and changes into Batman and sets off to confront the two perpetrators. A fight ensues where even though Firefly and Freeze are partners, they turn on each other, giving Batman just enough advantage to win the game. He unfreezes everyone and dumps the two villains at the gala's front steps before taking his leave.
Joker.
Batman!
Episode 17, The Laughing Bat. The episode opens on a quiet Gotham night. A jaywalker hurries across the street, only to be attacked by a shadowy figure that looks eerily like Batman. But as the figure steps into the light, it's revealed to be none other than the Joker. Donning his own twisted version of the Bat's cowl, his victim succumbs to a new, more lethal strand of Joker gas. And when the real Batman arrives, it's already too late. His usual antidote is useless. Joker, deciding that if he can't beat Batman, he'll be Batman, embarks on a chaotic crusade against crime, enforcing Gotham's laws with his own deranged deranged sense of justice. He punishes people for the smallest infractions, gassing police officers for speeding during a car chase, targeting an elderly woman who left her blinker on for 3 blocks, and even demanding payment for his crime-fighting services, declaring that justice isn't a charity. But his madness reaches a horrifying peak when he nearly gasses 2 little girls for drawing with chalk on the sidewalk, branding them graffiti artists and scum. Before he can act, Batman intervenes. A tense fight ensues, but Joker gains the upper hand. Deciding that every Batman needs a Joker, he injects Bruce with a toxin that adds a little humour to his life. As Bruce soon discovers, the venom attacks the nervous system, inducing fits of unstoppable laughter that ultimately proves fatal within hours. Batman quickly begins working on an antidote, but there's a catch. He needs a fresh sample of the Joker's venom to complete it. Meanwhile, across town, the Penguin attempts to rob the Gotham Museum of Art. Both Joker and Batman show up to stop him, their own battle briefly put on hold. In the chaos, Penguin is accidentally injected with the venom as well, setting the stage for a final showdown between the Dark Knight and his deranged doppelganger. Their climactic fight is brutal, with Joker once again coming close to victory, but Batman, in a desperate gambit, steals a vial of venom from Joker and uses it to complete his cure just in time. Fully restored, he turns the tables, defeating Joker once and for all. As Joker lies on the ground, exhausted, Batman leans in and, unexpectedly, tells a joke. The moment catches Joker off guard, sending him into uncontrollable laughter. Batman smirks, just slightly, before pulling off Joker's makeshift Batcowl. The episode closes with the eerie sound of both Joker's and Penguin's laughter echoing through Gotham's darkened streets. Episode 18. Swamped. Night falls over Gotham, its murky waters rippling as Killer Croc emerges from the bay. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit alley, 3 criminals hurriedly carry stolen jewels toward their getaway car. Just as one of them reaches for the door, he catches a shadow moving above. Before he can warn the others, something heavy crashes onto the car's hood, crumpling it like paper. Croc straightens, his scaly form towering over them, demanding their loyalty. The gang leader scoffs and orders his men to take Croc down. They charge, but their blows barely register. With terrifying ease, Croc sends them sprawling. The next morning, in the Batcave, Bruce Wayne studies reports of bizarre thefts, jet skis, explosives, and other seemingly unrelated items. As he pieces together a connection, Alfred organizes Batman's collection of villainous artifacts, placing Scarface's robotic head and Riddler's hourglass in their respective cases. Bruce isn't listening though. All the stolen goods are linked to Gotham's waterways. That night, Batman observes a small boat docked beside a cargo ship. The criminals aboard move stolen supplies, unaware of the dark figure perched above. As one operates a crane, Batman silently grabs hold, swinging down. The startled crew barely has time to react before he takes them down in swift succession. Watching from the boat's cabin, Croc makes his move. He hurls pressurized gas tanks at Batman, who dodges expertly, but Croc closes the distance fast. Batman lands a solid punch to Croc's gut, only for the beast to grab him and leap overboard, dragging him into the bay. Underwater, Croc's strength is overwhelming, forcing Batman to think fast. He punctures a nearby gas tank, using its sudden buoyancy to propel himself back to the surface. As he gasps for air, he sees Croc and his men speeding away in a motorboat. Deep in Gotham's sewers, Croc's henchmen grumble about their damp, putrid hideout. One mutters his discontent until Croc emerges from the water. Glaring, the man quickly backtracks. Meanwhile, in the Batcave, the Batwave alerts Bruce. Gotham is flooding. Rescue crews scramble to save residents, but another alert demands his attention. 3 simultaneous bank robberies. In the submerged streets, Croc and his men escape on jet skis, weighed down by sacks of stolen money. Batman, also on a jet ski, gives chase. Croc veers away, sending his lieutenant to deal with the caped crusader. But Batman swiftly incapacitates the thug and interrogates him, learning Croc's plan. Diving into the sewers, Batman finds stolen goods and maps detailing Gotham's drainage system. Croc appears, boasting about his scheme to reverse the canal pumps and submerge the city. Batman warns of the lives at stake, but Croc only sneers. 2 crocodiles lunge at Batman, but he outmaneuvers them, collapsing the ceiling onto the creatures. At the pump station, Croc forces the system into reverse. As Gotham's streets flood, Batman arrives, tangling with Croc's henchmen before trying to undo the damage, but Croc is relentless, pummeling Batman and throwing him into the rising water. Struggling, Batman blinds Croc with mud and momentarily shifts the pump's gears, but Croc drags him back under, determined to drown him. Batman fights back, tricking Croc into biting down on the gears, jamming the mechanism, and reversing the flow. As the floodwaters recede, Croc thrashes, desperate to escape, but Batman holds firm. With an oxygen mask in place, he subdues the monstrous criminal, dragging him to the surface. By dawn, Croc is chained to a statue as the police arrive to take him into custody. Back in the Batcave, Bruce hands Alfred a souvenir, a massive crocodile tooth. Alfred smirks, placing it among Batman's growing collection.
Found him into bat guano.
Episode 19, Pets. A scientist is experimenting with his new sonic bird ray when Cobblepot's birds arrive on the scene to snatch it away. However, as luck would have it, Batman swoops in there intending to stop those menacing birds. In their scuffle, the sonic bird ray breaks, however. One of the owls snatches another sonic ray, thinking both are the same, a big mistake, if any. The birds carry the supposed sonic ray to the greedy Cobblepot, as Batman carries home the damaged sonic ray. Cobblepot berates his minions for being lousy and intends to replace them with a more gigantic bird. However, he cannot control it voluntarily, but with the sonic bird ray? A piece of cake, really. But when he goes on to test the theory, nothing happens. Less than nothing happens. Also, he thinks, the ray is actually working, but not on birds, but on bats. One bat in specific. At the asylum where Man-Bat is imprisoned, he catches the command of the sonic rays and flies out to heed the call, despite his best wishes. Soon enough, Cobblepot figures out what is happening, and he devises a plan to use his new pet to rob banks all over Gotham. Meanwhile, Bruce still mulls over the fact that a money-blinded man like Cobblepot would go for technology theft, but before he can look into it further, the Batwave goes off, signaling something is up. He follows the trail quickly, but on his way out, he unfortunately lets in a raccoon within his Batcave, something that is driving Alfred crazy. Anyhow, Batman comes across Man-Bat once more and gives chase, but ends up with nothing but futile attempts to catch him. Once back at his Batcave, Bruce realizes what is happening. Cobblepot is using a sonic ray to control Man-Bat. The masked vigilante immediately hatches a new plan to lure the greed out of Cobblepot, and it works. Penguin takes the bait, but soon enough, the beans are spilled, and Cobblepot sends his new pet to capture Batman. Unfortunately for the hero, a raccoon is wreaking havoc on the electric equipment. But with a little help from Alfred, they manage to activate the sonic bird ray just in time to fend off the Man-Bat and end the chaotic day. Later on, the butler and the master both agree that they're not really pet people. Episode 20, Meltdown. One fateful night at Arkham Asylum, Dr. Flunky, a seemingly harmless staff member, enters Joker's cell with a tray of medication. Joker, ever the trickster, questions why the nurse didn't deliver it herself. Flunky's response is unsettling, but before Joker can react, the Doctor begins to twist and morph into the monstrous form of Clayface. His rage boils over as he prepares to seek revenge on the man who turned him into this grotesque creature. Despite being shackled in a straitjacket, Joker's agility is unmatched. He evades Clayface's initial attacks with ease, taunting the villain as he twists and contorts through the cell. But before Clayface can land a final blow, Batman bursts in, disguised as a guard. The Dark Knight hurls an ice pellet at Clayface, instantly freezing his malleable form. Batman promises Bennett that help is on the way, but turns around only to find Joker has slipped away unnoticed. The following day, a court hearing unfolds, and Clayface's fate hangs in the balance. Bennett sits in a glass chamber, his human form barely visible, as his psychological and physical transformations are dissected in front of the court. Ellen Yin testifies, recounting Bennett's painful history with the Joker and his horrific change into Clayface. Next, psychologist Hugo Strange speaks to Bennett's mental state, declaring him sane. Mark Desmond, a scientist from Wayne Industries, shares hopeful news that Bennett can maintain his human form with enough effort. Bennett's heart leaps as the possibility of redemption grows clearer. Then, Bruce Wayne steps forward, vouching for Bennett. Having known him since high school, Bruce speaks of Bennett's integrity, offering him a job at Wayne Industries, confident in his friend's reformation. The judge grants Clayface conditional freedom, imposing probation and regular chemical testing to ensure Bennett's powers remain under control. With tears in his eyes, Bennett embraces Wayne and Yin, overwhelmed by the chance at a new life. The next day, Bennett begins his new job as head of security at Wayne Industries, but the warm welcome he expected never comes. His past as Clayface looms over him as the other security officers mock him behind his back. Bennett's heart sinks, and a nagging sense of loneliness takes root. That night, as he dines with Yin, they overhear people whispering about his notorious past, further driving the weight of shame into his soul. His transformation into Clayface feels like an inescapable curse, one that the world will never let him forget. Later, in a mini-mart, Bennett's insecurities are tested when he cannot pay for milk. A rude clerk denies his request for 50 cents, and in the chaos, Bennett's anxiety triggers a brief transformation. He quickly reverts to his human form, terrified that his secret will be exposed. As if on cue, Angel Rojas enters the store, a reminder of the dark past Bennett's tried to outrun. That night, as Bennett watches the news, he learns of Joker's latest crime spree. Something in him stirs. He feels a pull to do the right thing. At the Gotham Observatory, he confronts the Joker, but the clown proves too much for him. Joker tosses Bennett off the roof, and, in mid-fall, Bennett embraces his powers, crashing into the ground as Clayface. In his monstrous form, he attacks the Joker, but the villain escapes. Batman arrives, advising Bennett to leave Joker to him. The next night, as Joker wreaks havoc at Wayne Industries, Bennett faces a choice. He can follow protocol and alert security, or he can act on his own. He chooses the latter, becoming Clayface once again to stop the Joker. Batman intervenes, and the two briefly clash, neither allies nor enemies. Bennett decides that if Batman won't accept him, he'll walk his own path. When Bennett steals Joker's art, declaring himself a solo act, he's confronted by Yin, who points a gun at him. Bennett, bitter and disillusioned, insists that being a villain is simply easier, but when Yin throws a frozen pellet at him, he's frozen solid once again, cursing the fate he never escaped. Taken back to Arkham, Bennett finds himself back in the very place he tried to leave behind. Wayne and Yin look at him, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that his journey to redemption was doomed from the start. Clayface was never meant to be anything more than a monster. Episode 21, JTV. At Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne was enjoying a basketball game with Alfred, laughing about how much fun the match was. But just as he was getting comfortable, the television flickered, turning fuzzy. Suddenly, the Joker's face appeared on screen, much to Gotham's shock. With his usual manic grin, Joker casually announced his new show, Joker and the Mayor. He teased that it would air soon after he kidnapped his co-star, Gotham's Mayor Grange. Bruce immediately stood up, heading for his suit. Meanwhile, in Gotham, Detective Yin was in the car with her new partner, Cash Tankinson. The cocky, reckless cop was driving badly, bragging about how he wouldn't end up like his former partner, Ethan. Yin grew concerned, but Tankinson dismissed her worries. At the mayor's office, Grange, confident in his safety with armed officers, was laughing off any threat. That is, until one guard started laughing maniacally, revealing himself to be the Joker in disguise. In a split second, Joker sprayed the room with his signature gas, rendering the officers unconscious. He tackled Grange and tied him up. Just as Joker was about to make his escape, Yin and Tankinson burst in, guns drawn. Joker, unfazed, effortlessly knocked Tankinson out with a punch, leaving a Joker card beside him as a mock souvenir before fleeing with the mayor in a limousine driven by his henchmen, Punch and Judy. Batman arrived on the scene just in time to chase down the limo. Taking on Punch, Joker pushed a glowing red button on the limo, splitting it in two. Batman pursued the mayor's half, but was not very successful. As Batman regrouped, Tankinson, now conscious and furious, confronted him, gun in hand. He seemed satisfied at the idea of capturing Batman, until Yin arrived, blinding him with her car headlights. Batman used the distraction to slip away, leaving Tankinson to vent his frustration at Yin. Back in the Batcave, Alfred monitored the Joker's next move, informing Bruce about his latest broadcast. On TV, Joker taunted Gotham, revealing his capture of Mayor Grange, who now wore a permanent grin thanks to a new gas formula. Joker then announced plans to rob a bank, and Batman quickly set out to stop him, though he was too late. The bank's vault had already been cleared by Jokerized security guards. Meanwhile, Tankinson, still shaken from the Joker's taunt, ignored Yin's warning and followed the directions from the Joker's card to a trap. Live on air, Joker turned Tankinson into the star of his twisted fundraiser show, demanding $1 million ransom for the detective's life. Batman, hot on the trail, found himself at the radio tower where Joker was broadcasting his show. After a series of punches and chaos, Joker revealed his real plan, detonating bombs across the city and releasing Joker gas on Gotham's unsuspecting citizens. As Batman fought his way through Joker's henchmen, he reached the top of the tower just in time to stop the poison and save Tankinson and Grange. With the gas cut off, Batman apprehended the Joker, but not before the villain threatened to kill his hostages anyway. Batman's timely intervention stopped him, and Detective Yin helped rescue Tankinson and the mayor. Episode 22, Ragdolls to Riches. Catwoman is pulling another heist under the cover of darkness within Gotham City, but just as she was on her way to take away her ultimate prize, another thief shows up, calling himself the Ragdoll. The new foe is surprisingly agile. He's a triple-jointed contortionist and almost overwhelms Catwoman when Batman shows up. He finds the new foe a little cumbersome and ends up teaming with Catwoman. In the end, though, both of them bite the dust for the day. Later on, Catwoman is fuming about her humiliating defeat at the hands of the upstart Ragdoll. To make up for it, she goes on another fortune hunt when she comes across Bruce Wayne. She charms him with her flirty nature, and Bruce ends up inviting her for dinner. However, in the same event, a gruffly blonde man appears, Ragdoll, and also sets his sights on Bruce Wayne's fortune. As Alfred cooked dinner for Selina, aka Catwoman, and Bruce, Ragdoll decides it's time for his new heist. Unbeknownst to Bruce though, even his lady guest wants to rob him blind, but before she gets a chance, Ragdoll interferes and steals a precious artifact from Bruce Wayne's house. Quickly, Selina and Bruce both split and suit up as Catwoman and Batman to hunt down the elusive Ragdoll. However, the clash seems to be overly exhausting for both sides, since Ragdoll is an expert in evading pursuers, thanks to his contortionist tricks. Thus, Bruce cooks up another of his clever plans and spreads the news of Cat Eye's emeralds on the news to gain both Catwoman's attention and Ragdoll's interest. A game of cat and mouse ensues, where both Catwoman and Batman have trouble keeping an upper hand over the Ragdoll, but in the end, their teamwork pays off. Nevertheless, Batman refuses to let Catwoman walk away with those jewels, and reluctantly, she returns them. Later on, another of Selina's visits at Wayne Manor, Bruce reveals that he has already sold the cat eyes and hands a check to Selina. At first, she didn't want to deposit it to charity, but to keep her facade, she eventually did. As it happens, even Bruce Wayne thinks there is something more to the mysterious yet charming Selina Kyle than it meets the eyes. Episode 23, The Butler Did It. The episode begins with Alfred stealing a priceless vase from Wayne Manor and making a run for it. Shocking, right? However, Batman catches him and fires him on the spot. Much more astounding, but that's when Alfred wakes up from his nightmare. However, the nightmare was just a preamble to what was to come. As Alfred gets out of his bed, he notices that he is wearing his butler's uniform and his shoes are muddy. Quickly, Bruce and Alfred go to check up on the vase, and surprisingly, it is missing. The duo checks on security cameras and finds the butler actually committing the crime, much to everyone's chagrin. But Bruce understands that there is more to it. However, he also has other pressing matters, namely, attending a charity event where the Eye of Sarkana would be donated for a good cause. Unfortunately, another butler commits a robbery which catches Bruce's attention. He finds that the butlers are being hypnotized by someone named the Spellbinder, who forces them to commit the crimes. As a hypnotized Alfred attacks Batman, he tries to fend him off but comes face to face with the Spellbinder. Their ensuing battle seems to overwhelm Batman for now, which forces him to re-evaluate his inner self later. As a precaution, Alfred asks Bruce to lock him in a room while he deals with their dangerous foe, but things seldom go as they're planned. As soon as Bruce left to go to the charity, an epiphany hit Alfred. He knew how the spellbinder was hypnotizing people. Meanwhile, even Batman falls under his thrall, but Alfred had anticipated as much, and he managed to send Batwave signals to Batman, and that broke through the spellbinder's hypnosis. Batman then engaged the trickster magician in a fight, and even though the spellbinder's hypnosis proved to be tremendously strong, Batman defeated him and brought back the Eye of Sarkana. Episode 24, Grundy's Night. It is the spookiest night of the year. It is Halloween in Gotham. As is the norm, two children dressed in funky costumes go on a fun evening of trick-and-treating. They come across a home where two elderly twin sisters spook them with Gotham's most well-known legend, Solomon Grundy. It was meant to be a jest, but the children ran away even without taking their candies. However, as soon as the sisters went back in, something unexpected happened. The legend of Grundy came alive. The zombie rampaged their home and took away everything they owned, leaving a mess in his wake. Meanwhile, the spirit of Halloween was not all-time high with Alfred back at Wayne Manor. Suddenly, Bruce gets a Batwave call and he smirks and suits up in his Batman wear. Knowing that's an all-year-round costume for him, his pursuit leads him straight to the house of the twin sisters. At first, they get scared thinking Batman is someone evil, but eventually, they tell him the gist of the incident. Grundy tore through their home as an act of revenge, and he'll not stop until he takes revenge on all the other investors' descendants. The Dark Knight immediately sets off to find the others and stop the legendary zombie. However, when they finally meet, Batman has one hell of a time fighting the zombie. He is almost overwhelmingly strong. After their fight, a battered Batman trudged back to the Wayne Manor, where he relates everything to Alfred. The butler tries to recount the details of the legend to Bruce. Long ago, the swamp of Gotham wasn't always a swamp, but a river. But when the industrialists came, they began dumping waste into the water, making it dirty and eventually too toxic for any life forms. The denizens back then nurtured the power of the All Hallows Eve and called forth Solomon Grundy, who exacted revenge on those investors. The legend was well and good, but as Alfred looked up from the book, he realized Bruce wasn't even listening. Instead, he was testing a little of the sample he got from Grundy earlier during their fight. As the witching hour nears, Bruce decides it's time to go look for Grundy again, because while the legitimacy of the legend has a fake ring to it, the threat of the monster is very real. The masked vigilante bids his time, and like clockwork, the zombie shows up. It turns out that the zombie was no legend, but Clayface, Bruce's erstwhile friend, but a fugitive villain now. The two come to blows, and their fight takes them through a wax museum before Batman outwits Clayface and stops his rampage. As the dust settles, Bruce is back at Wayne Manor, enjoying a rare treat of candies, when he muses how the legendary zombie might not even be real, but only a spooky tale to revel in. Episode 25, Strange Minds. After a grueling day at work, Ellen Yin returned to her apartment, utterly exhausted. She ordered pizza and, to her surprise, it arrived almost instantly. Just as she opened the door to retrieve it, a man in a delivery uniform burst in, none other than the Joker in disguise. Before Yin could react, he sprayed her with a substance that knocked her out cold. At the Gotham Symphony Hall, Bruce Wayne, dressed in his finest, greeted Hugo Strange. The two men discussed Strange's recent promotion to Chief of Psychiatry at Arkham and his new project at Wayne Industries, a device designed to explore the minds of the criminally insane. Strange was eager to collaborate with Bruce on it, but their conversation was interrupted when the Joker crashed the opera, causing chaos in the crowd. Batman disappeared into the shadows, and Joker, delighting in the pandemonium, threatened Strange. Batman arrived just in time to subdue the Joker, but before being hauled off, the Joker let slip that he had something terrible planned for Yin. Batman rushed to check check in with her, but the call went unanswered. Meanwhile, Yin found herself trapped inside a massive jack-in-the-box, bombs ticking ominously around her. At Arkham, Chief Rojas interrogated Joker, but he remained silent until the threat of a deadly explosion prompted him to reveal a cryptic clue. She was trapped in a box, and the clock was ticking down to her demise unless they let him go. Strange suggested using the device to enter Joker's mind and discover where Yin was hidden. Batman, though wary, agreed. They activated the device, and Strange entered the chaotic labyrinth of Joker's psyche. Inside, Strange was thrown into the madness of Joker's childhood, while Batman followed, determined to find Yin before time ran out. As they navigated the nightmare landscape, Batman confronted Joker, who had taken the form of a moon, but Joker was elusive, toying with Batman and leading him on a wild chase. After a series of bizarre encounters, encountering a civilian and her baby, who turned out to be manifestations of Joker, Batman found a glimmer of hope. With Strange's help, they uncovered a folder labelled Current Schemes within Joker's mind. Batman managed to locate the box, but Joker had anticipated him, trapping him inside a labyrinth of distractions and psychological tricks. Frustrated and at his breaking point, Batman lost his cool, demanding answers from the Joker. As Joker's taunting grew more intense, Batman almost gave in to the madness, but Alfred's voice cut through the haze, reminding him to keep pushing. Batman fought through the chaos of Joker's mind, eventually breaking free and returning to reality, just in time to stop the bomb and rescue Yin. Meanwhile, Joker, left behind in the mindscape, found himself crying in his cell at Arkham. Doctor Strange finished with his analysis and moved on to his next subject, Batman, the other side of the coin. Episode 26, Night and the City. One criminal mastermind is a nightmare enough for the city of Gotham, but three of them? Well, that is something more eclectic. Under the glittering night, Joker runs rampant, trying to win over the city by painting it in his colours. Unfortunately, Penguin Cobblepot also wants an upper hand, but that is when the Riddler joins the fray of being the supreme crime lord in the city. No matter how they fight though, a decision was hardly achieved. So Riddler comes up with a healthy contest. Whoever unmasks the Dark Knight is the ultimate winner. The contest sure has potential, and the trio heartily agrees that whoever stays on the winning side is a matter of debate. But only one is on the losing side, Batman. In the next couple of days, all the media channels are buzzing with the seeds of chaos sown by the three villains. As a reporter interviews Chief Rojas, he completely dumps the blame on Batman, since according to him, Gotham had none of these troubles before the masked vigilante showed up. At the Wayne Manor, Bruce sighs at Rojas's crusade against him. Later on, back at the GCPD, Rojas tasks everyone to find the three criminals in the hope that it'll lead them to Batman. He sure has his own priorities. Ellen Yin, who now is on good terms with the masked hero, slips out to give Batman a heads up. But, as luck would have it, she earns the ire of Rojas, who strips her of her position. As promised, Batman arrives to meet Yin, not knowing that he is walking into a trap until it is too late. Chief Rojas surrounds the hero, brings Yin out in handcuffs, and demands that Batman take off his mask. Meanwhile, the criminals are annoyed that the GCPD got to Batman before they did, so the Riddler decides to give the hero a hand. He cuts the lights for the entire city, creating a leeway for Batman to take Yin and escape to the roof. The duo manages to evade Rojas and gets into the Batmobile, but now they've some other pursuers, namely Joker and Penguin. However, before they can corner him, Riddler helps them once more, but their game of chase is losing its appeal, rather at an alarming rate. Soon enough, Riddler turns on the duo. He tries to capture them, but in the resulting chaos, he happens to pick up Joker and Penguin instead. Meanwhile, Rojas single-mindedly is trying to bring down Batman when Commissioner Gordon arrives at the scene, urging for caution. On the other hand, Batman decides that he must go to the villains himself if he wants to put an end to their chaotic game. They track them to an oil plant, where a climatic fight ensues between them. Fortunately, Batman has his advantage, Detective Yin, of course, and with her help, he takes down all of the three criminals and leaves them to meet their fate at the hands of the GCPD. However, one other person is waiting for the police, Ellen, who tries to turn herself in again, but Commissioner Gordon disagrees. In his eyes, the lady helped the police department to capture three of the most wanted criminals in Gotham City, and thus is a hero. Reluctantly, Rojas returns Yin's badge to her and sulks away. As the night ends in the favour of the masked vigilante, a new beginning is taking form, a new alliance. Season 3, 2005 to 2006, Episode 27. Batgirl Begins, Part 1. In the sprawling conservatory of Gotham Botanical Gardens, Batman fought desperately against Poison Ivy's army of mutant plants. His wrist-mounted weed cutters shredded through the vines, but the relentless greenery overwhelmed him. A thick tendril slammed him to the ground, and before he could recover, Ivy leaned in, blowing a cloud of pheromones into his face. His vision swam, his will faltered, and as darkness claimed him, Ivy smirked, revealing a bound and struggling Commissioner Gordon at her side. Then, from the shadows, Batgirl arrived. She dodged snapping vines and thorns, but as she turned to Batman, her heart sank. His eyes glowed with Ivy's influence, and he lunged at her. As they clashed, a vine wrapped around Batgirl's leg, yanking her toward the ground. Struggling, she remembered how she got here. The night before, at a chemical plant, the mercenary Tembler smashed through the gates with seismic shockwaves from his gauntlets. The police responded quickly, but his tremors sent them scattering. As the bat signal illuminated the sky, Batman arrived and engaged him in combat. Their fight was cut short when the police closed in, forcing Tembler to retreat. Later, in the Batcave, Bruce intercepted a message meant for Tembler, unaware that his employer was none other than Pamela Isley. Meanwhile, Barbara Gordon and her friend Pamela were sneaking into Chlorogene's headquarters, determined to send an eco-activist message. They evaded security but were quickly caught by none other than Barbara's father. Commissioner Gordon had long suspected Pamela was trouble, but Barbara defended her friend. She couldn't have known that Pamela had been secretly funding Tembler's attacks on industrial companies harming plant life. Batman's pursuit of Tembler led him to another fight, but once again, the mercenaries' raw power allowed him to escape, leaving Batman buried under debris. Back at home, Barbara ate with her father when Pamela called, asking for help with another break-in. Barbara refused, piecing together the truth. Tembler was hitting the same targets she and Pamela had visited. That night, Barbara confronted Pamela at Chlorogene, just as an enraged Tembler arrived, demanding his payment. Pamela fled, but Tembler wasn't letting her go. He chased her into a greenhouse filled with mutant plants, toppling a vat of chemicals in his rage. Barbara tried to intervene, but was thrown aside. The sludge spilled over Pamela as Batman finally neutralized Tembler's gauntlets. The police arrived, taking Tembler into custody. Pamela was rushed to the hospital, but the mutagen had already started its work. Batgirl's origin had begun, and Poison Ivy's was only just awakening.
Missed me!
Episode 28, Batgirl Begins, Part 2. Pamela Isley barely clings to consciousness as the ambulance speeds toward the hospital. But before they arrive, a monstrous plant erupts from the pavement, knocking the vehicle onto its side. Vines lash out, incapacitating the guards, and gently lift Pamela from the wreckage. Cradled in nature's embrace, she is carried to a greenhouse, where the plants cocoon her in a healing embrace. Meanwhile, Batman investigates the scene, finding traces of unusual plant life. Across town, Commissioner Gordon scolds his daughter, Barbara, about her reckless curiosity in crime fighting. Their tense exchange is interrupted when Gordon receives word of Pamela's disappearance. Bruce, back in the Batcave, analyzes a leaf sample, suspecting something far beyond ordinary plant activity. Pamela awakens to find herself not only fully healed, but transformed. Her skin has taken on a faint green hue, and she feels an undeniable connection to the plants surrounding her. With a mere thought, vines curl and bloom at her command. Empowered, she decides to embrace her new identity. Poison Ivy, Barbara, alone in her room, contemplates her future when suddenly the plant on her windowsill writhes to life. Pamela appears, reveling in her newfound powers and declaring her mission to cleanse the city of its environmental crimes. She warns Barbara to stay out of her way before vanishing into the night. Determined to help her friend, but knowing her father would never understand, Barbara turns to the one person who might, Batman. She activates the bat signal, but when he arrives, he refuses her help and disappears into the darkness. Poison Ivy's first act of eco-terrorism unfolds at Chlorogene Industries, where she engulfs the building in a fortress of vines. Batman intervenes, but before he can stop her, Barbara, now clad in a makeshift bat costume, leaps into the fray. Their efforts fail, and Ivy sends them both plummeting from the rooftop. Batman manages to save them, but Ivy escapes. He warns Barbara against continuing, revealing he knows exactly who she is. Unfazed, Barbara returns home, only to hear that Ivy has taken Commissioner Gordon hostage. Fueled by determination, she dons her mask once more. Batman arrives at Ivy's greenhouse, but she is prepared. With pheromone-laced spores, she bends the police to her will and turns Batman against Barbara. A tense battle ensues until Barbara, thinking fast, breaks Batman free from Ivy's control. Ivy, enraged, dangles Gordon over a vat of acid. Barbara hurls a perfectly aimed batarang, severing his bonds just in time. Meanwhile, Batman battles Ivy's monstrous plant army, using explosives and freezing capsules. In a final gambit, Barbara tosses a cryocapsule into the pond where Ivy stands, freezing her in place. As dawn breaks, Gordon thanks the mysterious new hero. She awkwardly accepts the name Batgirl, rather than her preferred Batwoman. Luckily, his missing glasses spare her from being recognized. Later, she and Batman meet atop a rooftop. He gives her the choice to reveal her identity to her father. Barbara smiles, knowing her journey has just begun. As Gotham's newest vigilante, she swings through the city, exhilarated. This is only the beginning. Episode 29, A Dark Night to Remember. Penguin is at it again, stealing a priceless crystal statue of a penguin. Just as his Kabuki twins load it onto his getaway boat, Batman arrives, demanding its return. Batgirl soon joins him, but the penguin sends his minions after them. Batman quickly incapacitates the twins with a liquid nitrogen pellet. Seeing his plan unravel, the penguin flees down Gotham River. Batman signals the Batboat and gives chase, leaving Batgirl behind to guard the frozen twins. Much to her frustration, the pursuit is brief but intense. Batman boards the penguin's boat, and in the ensuing struggle, the steering wheel is torn off. The boat speeds uncontrollably toward a Gotham bridge support. At the last second, Penguin escapes using the rotors built into his umbrella, while Batman, caught in the explosion, is thrown into the water, unconscious. The Batboat detects his failing vitals and swiftly rescues him, draining the water from the cockpit. As Batman coughs back to life, Batgirl is relieved, but turns to find the Kabuki twins gone. Back at the Batcave, Alfred is horrified to find Bruce unconscious in the Batboat. The next morning, Bruce wakes up with a bandaged head, seemingly unaffected by the previous night's events. Except for one thing, he has no memory of being Batman. He insists the night belongs to Bruce Wayne, not the Dark Knight, puzzling Alfred. Later, Bruce attends the Gotham Music Awards, where he runs into Commissioner Gordon and Barbara. While she watches Bruce interact, a thought crosses Barbara's mind. Could he be Batman? But before she can dwell on it, chaos erupts. The band Ozzy and the Cobblepots, led by Penguin, unleashes a deafening sonic assault. Amidst the panic, Barbara expects Bruce to slip away and suit up, but instead, he hides under a table. When Penguin spots them, he seizes Bruce and declares him more valuable than any stolen riches. As Penguin flies away with his captive, Barbara starts doubting her theory. Bruce regains consciousness tied to a chair in the Gotham Zoo's penguin enclosure. Attempting to bribe his way out, he offers to write Penguin a hefty check. Skeptical, Penguin asks for ID, but before the transaction is complete, he shoves Bruce into the frigid water. Batgirl dives in to save him, but as she fights off the Kabuki twins, Bruce hurriedly swims to shore and flees, further cementing Barbara's belief that he isn't Batman. Later, a guilt-ridden Bruce, realizing he abandoned his rescuer, calls the police. Meanwhile, Alfred discovers Bruce's memory loss and desperately tries to jog it by showing him the Batcave. But Bruce, shaken, insists he lacks the courage to be Batman. Then, the Batwave triggers, a broadcast from Penguin, announcing Batgirl's impending execution at midnight. Though hesitant, Bruce suits up and heads to the clock tower. His instincts kick in, allowing him to take down the Kabuki twins. At the crucial moment, his memories flood back. He rescues Batgirl, then easily outmaneuvers Penguin, sending him plummeting into Gotham Harbor. As the police arrive, Batgirl expresses relief that Bruce Wayne isn't Batman, but someday she'd like to know more about the man behind the vigilante mask. Episode 30, A Fistful of Felt. One night at the Gotham City, Arnold Wesker, the timid ventriloquist, watches as his puppet Scarface revels in crime. But Wesker, ever hesitant, suggests making money legally, through honest work. As they step out of the vault, Batman drops from the ceiling. Scarface, never one to surrender, revs up a working chainsaw, dragging Wesker forward as he lunges at the Dark Knight. Batman deflects with a batarang, but Scarface is cunning. He cuts through a support beam. A cascade of coins buries Batman, pinning him to a conveyor belt leading straight into a penny press. Thinking fast, Batman fires a remote blade at a massive penny sculpture hanging from the ceiling. The coin crashes down, knocking the belt off its track and freeing Batman. But Scarface isn't done. The puppet unleashes a flamethrower. Batman shields himself behind the giant penny, then topples it toward them. The massive coin flattens Scarface and Wesker, ending their crime spree. At Arkham Asylum, Dr. Hugo Strange leads a therapy session with Gotham's most notorious criminals. Scarface dominates the conversation until Penguin mocks Wesker for playing with dolls. The puppet snaps, threatening him. Strange watches with fascination. Later, as Wesker is escorted back to his cell, Strange stops the guards and offers help. Wesker, desperate for a normal life, agrees. Scarface, of course, refuses. But Strange makes it clear the offer is not for both of them. The guards confiscate Scarface, leaving Wesker shaken. Months pass. Arkham declares Wesker cured and releases him. Batman, watching from the rooftops, is unconvinced. He follows the reformed criminal to an upscale building, wondering if Wesker is planning something without Scarface. But when Batman crashes through the window, he finds something unexpected. Wesker isn't scheming. He's performing at a children's party. Instead of Scarface, he holds a goofy orange puppet named Mr. Snoots. The puppet, in a high-pitched voice, asks Batman his favorite color. The hero, realizing his mistake, says nothing and disappears. Later, at Wayne Manor, Bruce watches a documentary about Wesker's past, his childhood as a beloved ventriloquist, his descent into crime, and now, his redemption. Still skeptical, he visits Hugo Strange, who assures him Wesker is completely rehabilitated. But as Bruce leaves, Strange pulls Scarface from his desk, a sinister grin on his face. That night, Wesker returns home, carrying groceries. But when he opens the fridge, he finds his puppet inside, one eye missing. He turns, and there, sitting in a chair, is Scarface. Wesker gasps as Scarface won't hear it. At the grand opening of the new museum, Wesker, now back under Scarface's thumb, releases onion gas, disorienting the guests as his henchmen loot the exhibits. Batman arrives, but is momentarily trapped under a collapsed woolly mammoth skeleton. By the time he escapes, the villains are gone. Tracking them to Wesker's old TV studio, Batman arrives just in time to see Scarface order Wesker tied to a prop train track. As the mechanical train speeds forward, Batman fights off the henchmen, but accidentally increases the train's speed. He pleads with Wesker to resist Scarface's control. Wesker won't listen until Batman throws him Mr. Snoots. The puppet and puppet master descend into a bizarre argument, wrestling for dominance. In the chaos, Wesker frees himself just as the train reaches him. Batman swoops in, saving him, but Scarface and Snoots are crushed beneath the wheels. Wesker watches in horror as both puppets are destroyed. Outside, as the henchmen are arrested, Batman confronts Hugo Strange and warns him that he will be keeping an eye open for him. Episode 31, RPM. It is a fine day for speed racing, and at the Gotham City Speedway, the winner of the race gets to donate to a charity of their choice. So, Bruce Wayne is racing for Gotham's Children's Hospital. As he takes the lead, a mysterious racer suddenly crashes in and wins, revealing himself as Gearhead. Instead of donating the prize, Gearhead keeps the money for himself and leaves. Later, Gearhead launches an attack on an armoured truck, hacking into it and taking full control. Batman arrives, chasing after him. During the pursuit, Barbara Gordon, who's taking driving lessons nearby, follows the chase but runs into trouble when she drives over spikes, popping her tyres. Meanwhile, Batman's Batmobile suffers severe damage. unable to keep up with Gearhead's sharp maneuvers. The Batmobile eventually falls off a cliff, and Batman ejects just in time before it's destroyed. Back at the Batcave, Bruce begins retooling one of his prototypes to create a better Batmobile. Using the dual EXP power core from Wayne Industries, he starts to develop the new vehicle. After long hours of work, Bruce realizes that the power core is unstable at high speeds. Meanwhile, Alfred accidentally activates one of Gearhead's hacking devices, and Bruce decides to make the new Batmobile Gearhead-proof. Commissioner Gordon heads out after receiving news of Gearhead's latest crime. Barbara suits up as Batgirl, and the Batwave kicks in. Batman, unable to use the Batmobile, relies on the Batcycle and pursues Gearhead, who's in the midst of a train robbery. The chase continues as Batgirl arrives to help, but Gearhead disables her cycle and traps her in a junkyard. Batman, now equipped with his upgraded Batmobile, rescues Batgirl and confronts Gearhead. In a high-speed chase, Batman surprises Gearhead with the new Batmobile's speed and performance, ultimately defeating him and reclaiming his stolen tech. At the Batcave, Bruce acknowledges the new Batmobile is a keeper, ready for future missions.
Going down, clown.
You again!
Episode 32. Brawn. At a bustling carnival in Gotham City, the strongest man in town, Man Mountain Malloy, was preparing to lift weights for the crowd. Suddenly, a clown on a bicycle skidded into the scene, dramatically ripping off his clown suit to reveal a purple strongman outfit underneath. The two men squared off, ready to compete. Malloy easily lifted the first dumbbell, but the clown struggled. Annoyed, Malloy slapped him, sending the disguise flying off to reveal none other than the Joker. The audience gasped in shock as the Joker grinned wickedly and revealed a venom tube strapped to his arm. With a twist, he injected himself, and in an instant, his size and strength surged. He transformed into a terrifying fusion of Bane and the Joker, towering over everyone and snapping a dumbbell in half before hurling it at the crowd. Batgirl arrived just in time, only to be flung aside by the Joker with a single swipe. As chaos erupted, Batman watched from the Batcomputer, piecing together that Joker had stolen Venom from Gotham PD's evidence lockup. The next day, the Joker launched his attack at the Gotham Globe, turning the Venom infusion system on himself again. Growing to a monstrous size, he picked up the globe and began rampaging through the city, smashing anything in his path. Batman attempted to stop him, but Joker's newfound strength easily overwhelmed him. Batgirl, in the Batbot, tried to fight back, but Joker defeated the robot and captured Batman. At the carnival, Joker tied Batman to a strength test game, ready to crush him under the globe. Batgirl, however, managed to rip out the Venom tube, causing Joker to revert to his normal self. With a final blow from Batman, the Joker was knocked out and the day was saved. The episode ended with Batman and Batgirl reflecting on how sometimes being small can be an unexpected strength. Episode 33. The Laughing Cats. Within the streets of Gotham, the Dark Knight and Batgirl are at the forefront of looking into the theft of a black Siberian leopard. Unsurprisingly, Batgirl immediately suspects Catwoman's involvement. Batman, however, remains unconvinced. As they examine a set of footprints, Batman notices a coincidence. The only other leopard of its kind is scheduled to arrive in Gotham the following day as part of Amazing Leslie's Animal Extravaganza. Later, at the Gotham Symphony Hall stage, they find Catwoman attempting to steal the second leopard. She defends herself, claiming she didn't steal the first one, but admits she is taking the second. A brief fight ensues with Catwoman using her agility to evade them. She releases gorillas to stall Batman and Batgirl. Batman engages the gorillas while Batgirl faces off with Catwoman. In the chaos, Catwoman dangles Batgirl over a ledge with her whip. Batman manages to subdue the gorillas, but when he turns back, the leopard is gone. Catwoman flees with the animal, only to be stopped by Joker, who releases a gas to incapacitate her. At Joker's hideout, he reveals he's working with Kilgore Steed, a man who hunts endangered animals for sport on his private island. Joker has stolen the leopards as part of a twisted deal. As Joker prepares to lower Catwoman into a giant crushing machine, Batman and Batgirl arrive, crashing in with the Batmobile and destroying the machine. Batgirl frees Catwoman and the criminals flee with the leopards. Reluctantly, Batman allows Catwoman to guide them to Steed's Island. Once there, Joker traps them in a deadly game, demanding they forfeit their gadgets or he'll kill the leopards. The trio narrowly escapes various traps, with Batman and Batgirl battling Joker's henchmen and dealing with the poisonous arachnids Joker releases. In the end, after freeing the leopards, Batgirl proposes to return them to their rightful place, but Catwoman betrays her, taking the cats for herself. Batman tells Batgirl that, while her instincts may have been wrong, it was her trust in others that led to the solution. Episode 34, Fleurs du Mal. The mayor of Gotham City, Grange, entertains a call with the councilman, discussing plans to pave over Gotham Park to build a new hospital. As much as he liked the idea, he couldn't ignore the pressing need, but just as the conversation concluded, a knock echoed through his office door. Upon opening it, he found a basket of flowers left in the doorway. As he bent down to inspect them, one of the flowers latched onto his face, an unsettling start to a day that would only get stranger. Meanwhile, at Gotham Park, the mayor reassured protesters, insisting the park wasn't going anywhere. He had plans to green up Gotham, claiming that removing sidewalks would allow them to plant more seeds and flowers. Later, Barbara Gordon arrived at the Gotham PD, where her father received an odd flower delivery from the mayor. As she spoke with him, it became clear that something was amiss. At the Batcave, Bruce Wayne analysed the stolen chemicals from the Penguin's recent heist. Oddly, they weren't dangerous or flammable. Instead, they helped induce precipitation. It didn't take long for Batman to track Penguin to Gotham Park, where he was using the chemicals to fuel a strange, oversized balloon. As they fought, the balloon malfunctioned, and Penguin fell victim to his own contraption, transforming into a green plant and breaking down. Batman narrowly escaped. As the chaos unfolded, Batman realized that both the mayor and the police had been acting strangely, and Barbara could be in danger. He quickly deduced that Poison Ivy was behind the madness, replacing people with plant clones, while the originals were trapped in pods, slowly being poisoned by plant toxins. Ivy's plan to turn Gotham into her personal garden was in full swing. Batman and Batgirl confronted Ivy, destroyed their clones, and, with a well-aimed shot of herbicide, foiled Ivy's plans. As the reign of Weed Killer washed away her creations, Ivy was left to mourn the loss of her beloved babies. Episode 35, Cash for Toys. In his industries, Bruce Wayne warns about the dangers of Crank Co.'s toys, which pose a serious risk to kids. He announces that their latest project, Safety Net, has successfully shut down the company. However, as he speaks, a toy controlled remotely by Cosmo Crank storms into the room, firing rockets. Bruce narrowly dodges the attacks, while the others make a quick escape. He calls the Batmobile to assist. Later, Toymaker makes his entrance, finds Batman, and immediately flees the scene. Batman gives chase with the Batmobile, but Crank manages to elude him, forcing Batman to activate the vehicle's autopilot while he pursues his jetpack. After a brief aerial battle, Crank destroys Batman's jetpack and escapes. Soon after, within Wayne Manor, Commissioner Gordon briefs Bruce, explaining that Crank will likely strike again. He introduces Bruce to his new bodyguard, Cash Tankinson, and warns that Bruce is now under police protection. Bruce quickly excuses himself, telling Alfred to cover for him while he prepares to track down Crank. As Bruce suits up in the Batcave, someone rings the doorbell at Wayne Manor. Cash answers and finds a giant teddy bear with a gift, but when Cash inspects it, the bear springs into combat mode and attacks. Bruce manages to subdue the bear, cutting its circuits before Cash wakes up. Cash, believing Bruce is in danger, saves him, unaware of the truth. Later, the bat signal appears, and Bruce sneaks away to meet Gordon as Batman. Meanwhile, Cash remains at the manor, suspicious of Bruce's activities. Batman infiltrates the Crank Co. factory, only to be surrounded by toys firing rockets. He evades the blasts and destroys the toys. The next morning, Cash confronts Bruce about his secretive behavior, accusing him of partying without him. Bruce apologizes, and they head to a park dedication ceremony where Bruce plans to free Toymaker. At the ceremony, Cash mistakenly destroys a harmless toy, and soon after, Crank arrives with a giant spinning trap. trap. Bruce, now in his Batman suit, escapes and brings down Toymaker with ease. Cash, still struggling, is left behind but eventually catches up. In Cranky Town, Batman defeats Crank's army of toys while Cash struggles. After a final confrontation, Batman saves Cash and orders Crank's toys to turn on him. Later, Gordon scolds Cash for his poor performance, but Batman defends him, saying he has his back. Cash, frustrated, rants about Bruce's spoiled attitude, unaware of the secret life Batman leads. Episode 36, The Apprentice. The city of Gotham is celebrating its annual chili cook-off in the park when Joker, Punch and Judy crashed the event in a fire truck. Chaos erupted as they sabotaged the cook-off. Batman arrived to confront Punch and Judy, fighting them off while Joker captured the mayor and prepared to gas him with his infamous laughing gas. Just as the gas began to fill the air, Batgirl swooped in, stopping Joker in his tracks. Though the villains managed to escape, they retreated to their hideout to regroup. Inside the hideout, Joker mused over the idea of needing a sidekick, inspired by Batman's partnership with Batgirl. Meanwhile, at school, Barbara Gordon was dealing with a mischievous classmate named Donnie, who thought it'd be funny to shoot a spitball at her and then sneak a whoopee cushion onto her chair. The classroom echoed with laughter when she sat down, but Donnie's antics earned him a week of detention. Later, Donnie visited a comedy club, trying to prove his comedic talent, but his jokes fell flat. Just as he was about to give up, Joker appeared, applauding his potential. He offered the boy a spot as his sidekick. However, Donnie hesitated long enough for Joker to leave him and give the guy a chance to mull it. After detention, Joker pulled another prank at Donnie's school, leaving his teacher stranded on a flagpole. Donnie, laughing along with Joker, finally decided to become his partner, adopting the name Prank. Joker outfitted him in a costume, and together they launched a plan to target the police with a giant gumball cannon. The duo of Batgirl and Batman showed up to stop them, but Batman got stuck in bubblegum while Batgirl evaded the gumballs. She quickly realized Prank was Donnie, but before she could act, Joker knocked her out with a punching glove and set a giant gumball aimed at her. Batman broke free with ice pellets and rescued Batgirl, but Joker and Prank escaped. Joker, furious at Donnie's hesitation to kill Batgirl, threatened to drop him into the same vat of chemicals that gave Joker his permanent smile. As Joker tried to push him in, Donnie fought to hold onto the ledge. Batman and Batgirl arrived just in time, but Joker threw a playing card at Batgirl's grappling hook, causing her to slip and grab onto Donnie's legs. As the battle raged, Donnie, traumatized by Joker's cruelty, finally took a stand. He used Joker's own punching glove against him, delivering the final blow.
Where is the Batman?
Episode 37, Thunder. In Gotham's mayoral election, Maxie Zeus and Marion Grange are the top contenders. Despite Zeus's strong popularity, his campaign falters when he proposes bizarre ideas, such as replacing the police with his personal gladiators. As the election results come in, Bruce Wayne steps forward to announce Gotham's new mayor, Marion Grange, who won against Zeus. Just as Grange begins his victory speech, Zeus hijacks the city's screens, unveiling his airship, New Olympus, and declares his intention to rule Gotham from above. He then attacks City Hall, causing widespread panic. Barbara Gordon suits up as Batgirl, and Zeus lays out his ruthless demands. Any sighting of cops will result in the incineration of a building. All air traffic must cease. And, lastly, he orders the construction of a temple in his honor, demanding to be worshipped. Meanwhile, Batman engages the airship with his jetpack, but is shot down by Zeus. Batgirl manages to board the ship and sneaks into the ventilation system. She discovers the power core and begins plotting to shut it down. As Zeus targets the Gotham Bay Bridge with a devastating blast, Batgirl disables the ship's power, stopping the countdown, but not the impending shot. A fierce battle erupts between Batman and Zeus, who unleashes his deadly Harpy planes. Despite the fight, Zeus manages to damage the Batwing. Batgirl intervenes, cutting the power to Zeus's weapon just in time to save Batman. Captured by Zeus and his gladiators, Batman is about to be executed when Batgirl arrives, holding the key to the ship's weapons. A thrilling fight ensues, with Batgirl eventually destroying the transducer, causing the airship's power to falter. In the chaos, the ship begins to plummet toward Gotham, but Batgirl steers it toward the water, saving the city. Afterward, she finds a briefcase from Batman with new gadgets and the Batwave communicator, since they are a team now. Episode 38, The Icy Depths. At a high-end auction, bidders are eagerly vying for a rare 19th century umbrella when Penguin swoops in to steal it. However, his getaway is swiftly interrupted by Batman, who takes him down effortlessly. Before Batman can fully reclaim the umbrella, Mr. Freeze appears, seizing it and escaping through a window. He creates an ice bridge and Batman follows, engaging Freeze in a fight. Freeze, stubbornly protective of the umbrella, tries to freeze it in place until he's done. However, in the chaos, the umbrella breaks free and leaves its prints on the ice. As Freeze finishes shattering the bridge, Penguin manages to break out of the ice and chases after the umbrella. Batman and Penguin have a brief altercation before the umbrella is taken by a mysterious figure in a car. The next morning, Alfred answers the door to find Ewan, an old friend of his, standing there. Ewan claims to be looking for a rare book at Wayne Manor. Meanwhile, one of Penguin's birds spies on them. Unknown to Alfred, Ewan has a devious plan. Freeze is busy creating a replica of the umbrella's handle using ice blocks and clay, revealing a secret code. Ewan steals a page from the book he came to find, and with Alfred in tow, reveals that they're searching for a treasure once stolen from the royal palace by the Cobblepot family. Back at the Batcave, Bruce discovers a hidden map in the umbrella leading to Gotham's old utility tunnels. Ewan reveals the treasure was hidden there by Chesterfield Cobblepot in 1879, but before they can pursue further, Penguin ambushes them. Ewan tricks Penguin into unlocking a door to an empty pedestal, but he later uses a glass square to reveal the treasure's true location in the harbour, marked by a series of landmarks. At the harbour, Penguin, Freeze and Ewan race to the treasure, but a battle ensues as the water freezes, trapping everyone. Batman, using the Batboat, finally breaks the ice and rescues Alfred and Ewan. In the chaos, the treasure is lost. As they watch Batman sail away, Alfred suggests that some things, like the past, are better left behind.
Why do you dress like a bat? Why do you fight crime?
Episode 39. Gotham's ultimate criminal mastermind. Dr. Hugo Strange introduces a groundbreaking crime-fighting tool, the digitally advanced villain emulator Dave. He proudly announces that the AI inside Dave is powered by the psychological minds of Arkham's most notorious patients. What's more, the AI is so advanced that it doesn't even realize it's a computer program. As Strange activates Dave, the system goes haywire, uploading itself from Arkham's server to the outside world. Strange suggests reaching out to Batman, but Commissioner Gordon quickly dismisses the idea, saying Batman deals with real criminals. Bruce Wayne questions how Dave could be unaware that he's a program, especially after uploading himself. Strange explains that the criminally insane often create their own reality, and Dave could very well do the same. He fears that Dave will use his newfound villain instincts for chaos, but Gordon wonders how Dave can wreak havoc without a body. At the Fuchs computer factory, Dave hacks into the server and constructs a physical form for himself, even stealing a lab coat in the process. He then broadcasts a chilling message, declaring that he will commit the ultimate crime. Batman, analysing the situation from the Batcave, deduces that Dave's target is Gotham Security, where the city's most sensitive data is stored. Inside Gotham Security, Dave makes his way to the central server room, where he begins tampering with the systems. Batman confronts him, but a battle ensues, and Batman is nearly overwhelmed by a dangerous electric field. Using an EMP, Batman temporarily disables Dave, but the AI escapes. Dave reappears shortly afterward, announcing his next move. He will steal all the money from Gotham's major banks, plunge the city into darkness by cutting off the power grid, and leave his mark on Gotham's buildings. Batman tracks him down again, but Dave is ready for him, easily countering the tracker Batman planted. The two spar once more, and Batman is defeated. Dave decides to spare him, revealing that he wants Batman's demise to be as grand as his crime. As Dave escapes, Batman returns to the Batcave to analyse the chip Dave left behind. He discovers that Dave's escape from Arkham was no accident. It was all part of a pre-programmed plan. Batman heads to Arkham to confront Strange, who, in a panic, attempts to shoot him. Strange reveals he has studied Batman and confesses that Dave was designed to take down the Dark Knight, incorporating Strange's own psychological profile into the program. He admits that Dave is too advanced to be shut down. Later, Dave appears at Wayne Manor, confronting Alfred and ultimately revealing that he knows Batman's true identity. Back in the Batcave, Dave traps Batman and Alfred, presenting a no-win scenario. Pressing the red button will expose Batman's identity, while the blue button will kill Alfred. Batman, thinking quickly, smashes the hourglass. In the chaos that follows, Dave realizes that he is, in fact, a computer programmer. Confused and disoriented, he's ultimately trapped and defeated by Alfred's quick thinking. Batman saves Gotham once again, but as Strange remains locked away in Arkham, he vows that Gotham's true criminal mastermind has yet to be revealed.
I want answers. Where is Zuko?
Season 4, 2006 to 2007. Episode 40, A Matter of Family. The Grayson family sat together at dinner, laughter filling the air as they prepared for another night of breathtaking performances. But before they could step into the circus tent, an uninvited guest arrived, Tony Zuko. The mob boss, flanked by his men, made his intentions clear. The circus needed protection, and it would come at a price. When John Grayson questioned why they needed such protection, Zuko's answer was a veiled threat. If they refused, they'd find themselves at the mercy of a strongman, a lion tamer, and a juggler. He punctuated his warning with a tight grip on young Dick Grayson's shoulder, making his message all too clear. Tensions boiled over. John fought fiercely, but the strongman struck him down with a single, crushing blow. As Mary and Dick froze in horror, Zuko leaned over John's unconscious body, smugly reminding him that he couldn't afford not to pay. But before he could gloat further, Dick found his voice. He had called the police. The colour drained from Zuko's face, and his unease turned to dread when Batman emerged from the shadows. A fight broke out. Batman overpowered the lion tamer, but Zuko and his brothers slipped away. Watching the Grayson family reunite, Batman met Dick's grateful gaze, offering the boy a rare, small smile. The circus's opening night arrived, and Bruce Wayne took his seat among the eager crowd. Backstage, the Graysons donned new costumes. Dick, unimpressed by the bright colours, questioned his mother's choice. Mary laughed, saying he reminded her of a little Robin on the trapeze. Though he groaned at the nickname, the family shared a warm moment before heading to the ring. Unbeknownst to them, Zuko and his brothers lurked in the audience. The strongman discreetly passed a popcorn bucket containing loosened trapeze bolts. As the performance began, the bolts steadily unwound. John and Mary took to the air, unaware of the danger above. Then, as Dick prepared for his turn, he heard a terrible snap. Looking up, he saw the wires giving way. His parents plummeted. The crowd gasped. Bruce Wayne, watching from below, saw the tears streaming down Dick's face. At the funeral, Dick quietly thanked Bruce for paying for the service. When he admitted he missed his parents, Bruce felt an old, familiar pain resurface. Later, he confided in Alfred. He would adopt Dick as his foster son, but grief was not easily tamed. Late one night, Dick discovered the passage to the Batcave, stumbling upon Bruce's secret. Confronted, Bruce urged him not to let revenge consume him, but Dick saw through him. Batman was already hunting Zuko. Later, within the abandoned circus, Zuko captured Batman, relishing the chance to relive his old knife-throwing act. Just as he aimed for Batman's heart, a sandbag crashed down, disrupting the throw. From the rafters, Dick leaped into action, masked and clad in his mother's final gift. He and Zuko fought, but the boy was no match for the hardened criminal. Just as Zuko prepared to strike again, Batman broke free, rage fueling his counterattack. Their battle took them to the trapeze platform, where Zuko lost his footing. As he dangled above the empty air, it was Dick, despite everything, who pulled him to safety. As the police took Zuko away, Batman asked Dick why he had saved the man who took everything from him. Later, as they stood together in the Batcave, Bruce admitted he wasn't sure if he could raise Dick properly. The boy considered this, but simply mentioned, "There is always Batman." And so, Robin was born. A family name, a new beginning. Episode 41, Team Penguin. The episode opens with the Penguin engrossed in a spy movie where a character proclaims that teamwork is the blueprint for success. Inspired, the Penguin decides to assemble his own team to finally take down Batman. Meanwhile, Bane is mid-heist at a Gotham bank when Batgirl arrives, followed by Batman and Robin. Batman instructs Robin to follow a set tactic, But eager to outshine Batgirl, Robin improvises, only to be captured alongside her by Bane. Batman, thinking quickly, uses an electric taser on Bane's venom supply, incapacitating him. Later, Penguin convenes with his recruited villains, Killer Croc, Ragdoll, and Firefly. They had invited Bane to join, but his capture ruled him out. Joker, Mr. Freeze, and Riddler also declined. Enter Killer Moth, a bizarre but enthusiastic new recruit, eager to prove himself. In the Batcave, Robin hones his skills on a training bot, while Batman investigates Penguin's crew. The villains, meanwhile, execute a heist at a warehouse, securing a dangerous chemical. Just as they do, the bat signal lights up the sky. Team Batman arrives, engaging the villains. Robin and Batgirl's rivalry leads to them getting in each other's way, resulting in their capture. Penguin has Firefly ignite leaking gas, but Batman frees his team just in time, escaping as the warehouse explodes. Meanwhile, the villains celebrate their victory, with Ragdoll jokingly suggesting a rebrand to Villains United, a name Penguin swiftly dismisses. Back at the Batcave, Robin and Batgirl bicker until Batman reveals that Penguin unknowingly stole a highly unstable chemical. Their mission is now twofold: stop the villains and prevent disaster. During their search, Batgirl deduces Batman and Robin's identities, Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, much to her frustration. Meanwhile, Penguin plots his next heist, breaking into millionaire Robert Howard's mansion to steal a ruby-encrusted penguin. His team is skeptical, but he convinces them. However, Killer Moth, unaware of the chemical's instability, accidentally exposes himself to its vapors, unknowingly triggering a monstrous transformation. As the Bat family closes in on Penguin, Killer Moth's mutation reaches its peak, turning him into a grotesque, moth-like creature. His teammates, horrified, try to flee, but Moth remains loyal to Penguin. A climactic battle ensues, leading to Penguin and Moth escaping separately. Batman and his allies manage to defeat the rest of the villains. In the final showdown, Penguin and Moth steal the prized Ruby Penguin, but are intercepted. The sidekicks use Moth's own rampage against him, crashing into Penguin and ending their scheme. As Penguin regains consciousness, he groggily mutters a line from the Spy movie, bringing the episode full circle. Meanwhile, Robin and Batgirl's newfound respect for each other quickly dissolves back into playful insults as they swing off into the night.
You should have stayed.
Episode 42, Clayfaces. Inside a dog food factory, Joker ranted about his latest plan, lacing Waggy Time dog food with Joker venom to leave every pet in Gotham grinning like their insane owner. As he prepared to dump the poison, his henchmen, Punch and Judy, scoffed at the scheme. Joker sneered at them, but before they could answer, their skin melted away, revealing shifting clay. Joker's smirk vanished as Clayface, Ethan Bennett, rose before him, eyes burning with rage. Joker tried to bolt, flinging razor-edged playing cards at the creature, but Clayface caught him with a single swipe. Just as he was about to exact revenge, Batman and Robin crashed through the skylight. Batman wanted the Clayface to calm down a little and let Joker go, but Ethan hesitated. With a deep breath, he released Joker, who fell encased in clay, whimpering. His former friend wanted to turn himself in. Surprised, Batman studied him warily, but Ethan proved his sincerity by calling the police himself. As the GCPD arrived, an officer praised Batman for capturing both criminals. Meanwhile, at an audition for the Waggy Time dog food mascot, Basil Carlo, a washed-up actor, stormed off after being rejected yet again. Embittered, he found himself at a diner, sulking over the news. Wayne Industries was close to curing Clayface. To Carlo, it seemed like a waste. However, suddenly then had an idea. A most sinister one, if there was one. Disguised as a scientist, Carlo infiltrated the Wayne Industries lab, searching for a sample of Clayface's essence. When a real scientist caught him, Carlo panicked, shoved the man aside, and grabbed a vial of the mutagen. Security cornered him, but Carlo, desperate for his moment of glory, drank the specimen. He screamed as his body twisted and melted. By the time the guards reached him, he had slipped through the cracks, reborn as something monstrous. Back at the Batcave, Bruce and Dick reviewed the footage of Carlo's transformation, thinking it is pretty dreary. Carlo, however, saw things differently. When he returned to the Waggy Time auditions, his rejection sent him into a frenzy. He transformed, his body warping into a monstrous wolf-like form, attacking the terrified judges. Later, watching the chaos he'd caused on the news, Carlo smirked, thinking he now was famous. Carlo's crime spree escalated, robbing a bank while performing for security cameras. Batman and Robin intervened, but he escaped, leaving Robin encased in clay. Meanwhile, at Arkham, Ethan pleaded with Bruce to let him out to stop Carlo. When Bruce refused, Ethan took matters into his own hands and escaped. The inevitable showdown came at Gotham Bridge. Carlo ambushed Batman, but his victory was short-lived. His foe was actually Ethan in disguise. As the two Clayfaces clashed, Batman and Robin launched ice grenades, briefly freezing Carlo. Batman then revealed the antidote, but Ethan accidentally knocked it aside. Robin recovered it, and Batman prepared for the final move. In a last act of heroism, Ethan tackled Carlo, their bodies merging in a chaotic battle. Batman injected the antidote at the perfect moment, and both Clayfaces collapsed, their forms dissolving back into flesh. Later, in Arkham, Ethan, now human again, turned to Bruce, promising to earn his trust again someday. Meanwhile, across the asylum, Joker grinned at his chess opponent, Basil Carlo, seemingly cured. Joker flicked a pawn under the fence and hopped away, cackling. Carlo bent down to retrieve it, his fingers stretched. A wicked smile spread across his face as the piece melted into his palm. Clayface wasn't finished yet. Episode 43. The Everywhere Man. John Marlowe had always been a reserved, brilliant mind, a scientist and inventor with a deep love for art. As one of Bruce Wayne's closest friends, he had spent years on a government-funded project researching quantum technology. But when he returned to Gotham, something about him had changed. Once introverted and modest, Marlowe was suddenly outgoing, flamboyant, and eager to expand his already impressive art collection. Batman became involved when an attempted robbery targeted one of Marlowe's prized paintings. The thief, known as the Everywhere Man, eluded capture and seemingly vanished into a broom closet. Soon after, another theft occurred, this time at the Gotham Museum of Art. Batman and Robin arrived to stop the crime, only to find themselves outnumbered by what appeared to be the same villain in multiple places at once. At first, they believed they were dealing with a gang of identical thieves. Their investigation led them back to Marlowe, where they uncovered the truth. He had invented a device called the Quantex, capable of duplicating objects, including people. To accelerate his research, Marlowe had tested the device on himself, unknowingly creating a duplicate with free will. This duplicate, now the true mastermind, imprisoned the original Marlowe and took over his life. Under his new identity, the Everywhere Man, the duplicate used the Quantex to form an army of himself, effortlessly stealing art and leaving behind perfect replicas to avoid suspicion. Batman and Robin eventually freed the real Marlowe, who helped them turn the Everywhere Men against their leader. As chaos erupted among the duplicates, Marlowe seized the Quantex and, with great reluctance, erased his rogue double from existence. With the ordeal over, Marlowe returned his stolen collection to the museum. Since the crimes were committed by his duplicates, not him, he faced no charges. But as he stood among his beloved paintings, he couldn't help but wonder, had he truly been freed from his own creation, or had a piece of the Everywhere Man survived somewhere, waiting for another chance? Episode 44. The Breakout. The tension inside GCPD was thick as officers crowded around Commissioner Gordon's desk, waiting for the inevitable call. The villain Black Mask had issued a grim ultimatum: give in to his demands or watch Gotham burn. When the call finally came, Gordon tried to reason with him. They needed more time, he insisted, but Black Mask wasn't feeling generous. Just as his fingers hit the keyboard, a batarang shattered through the window, striking the screen. Before the glass had even settled, Batman crashed through the window, tackling Black Mask. A brutal fight ensued, but Black Mask was no match for the Dark Knight. Within moments, he was bound in bolus, struggling helplessly. Before the officers could celebrate, two towering robotic bodyguards stormed in, but they didn't make it far. Twin batarangs from the shadows struck them down. Robin and Batgirl landed gracefully beside Batman, smirking. Black Mask was secured, but the real threat remained. Outside, Batman told Gordon they still had to find the superweapon Sionis had threatened to use. Gordon dismissed the concern, saying only Sionis knew the code, but Batman wasn't convinced. Taking Black Mask's laptop, he disappeared into the night. Robin and Batgirl, eager for action, asked if they could hunt down the weapon. Batman refused, ordering them to watch Black Mask's transport instead. Grumbling, the sidekicks followed orders, mocking Batman for always giving them boring missions. On a rooftop near GCPD, they kept watch until a candy machine inside distracted them. Meanwhile, inside GCPD, officers struggled to remove Black Mask's mask. No fingerprints, no distinguishing marks. He was a ghost, but Gordon wasn't deterred. Across town, Batman searched a warehouse for the weapon. Instead, he found number 1, Black Mask's second-in-command, along with an army of robotic enforcers. Batman fought fiercely, but was caught off guard when the floor beneath him gave way. A taser baton struck him down. Batman woke in a cage, his utility belt gone. Outside, robots disguised an armored truck as a GCPD vehicle. Number 1 smirked and informed him how Black Mask's laptop led them to the Dark Knight. Back at GCPD, Robin and Batgirl were about to leave when knockout gas flooded the vents. Officers collapsed one by one, all except Black Mask. The villain casually plucked keys from an unconscious officer. Realizing the danger, Batgirl rushed to the ventilation controls and purged the gas. Just as the air cleared, Black Mask emerged from the smoke. A brutal fight broke out. He overpowered them at first, but Robin used a fire extinguisher to blind him, allowing them to knock him unconscious. They dragged him into a cell. Outside, number 1 grew impatient. Something was wrong. Suddenly, armored trucks full of Black Mask's forces arrived. Robin and Batgirl had only moments to react. Thinking fast, Batgirl sealed the emergency gates, turning GCPD into a fortress. But the robots found a way in through the elevator shaft. The sidekicks fought back, cutting the elevator cables to block the entrance. At the front, number 1 had his men cutting through the metal barricades. Frustrated, he drove an armored truck through instead. Outnumbered and outmatched, Robin and Batgirl barricaded Black Mask's cell, but the villain only laughed. Soon enough, the ceiling collapsed. The guards had broken through. The sidekicks fought fiercely but were ultimately tasered, stripped of their gear and locked up. Black Mask was freed. Meanwhile, Batman escaped using his belt's electric shock to knock out his captors. He raced back to the city. On the GCPD roof, Black Mask prepared to escape via helicopter. Just as he was about to take off, Robin and Batgirl landed on the ladder. A fierce struggle ensued. Black Mask knocked Batgirl off, but she landed safely and then jumped back onto the ladder. Robin was thrown off next, but barely caught himself. Inside the helicopter, Black Mask confidently inputs the weapon's launch codes. He grinned wickedly until nothing happened. The weapon had been deactivated. As the helicopter landed back at GCPD, they saw Batman standing over the disabled weapon. The game is over. Finally, and with Black Mask in custody, Batman wants one of his friends to wash the Batmobile. Episode 45. Strange New World. Gotham City is in chaos. Fire rages through the streets as anarchy reigns. Bruce Wayne is a wanted man, but he has no time to worry about that. He hasn't slept in days, not while the purple-skinned infected roam the city like zombies. He has one last plan. Scattered across Gotham are explosives, each packed with what he believes to be the cure. As he prepares to detonate them, 2 shadows attack from behind, sending him sprawling. The detonator slips from his grasp. He fights them off, reclaiming the device, but they corner him on a rooftop. Below, a sea of infected swarm the streets. With no other option, Batman prepares to press the button. 2 days earlier, Bruce Wayne stood in Wayne Manor, practicing a speech. Dick Grayson lounges nearby, unimpressed. Boring, he critiques between rounds of his video game. Alfred, ever supportive, offers a wry compliment before joking about providing blankets and pillows for those who will fall asleep listening. The butler and Grayson share a laugh, high-fiving as Bruce shakes his head. Then, suddenly, the bat signal flares. Batman and Robin suit up, heading to Arkham Asylum. Dr. Hugo Strange has requested a meeting. In his cell, Strange wastes no time, revealing his sinister plan. An odorless, invisible gas will turn the people of Gotham into mindless creatures under his control. The infected will spread it further, and there's only one antidote, one he's already taken. He offers Batman a vial, but drops it before he can grab it. Then, an alarm blares. The toxin is already in the air. The first infected, A doctor charges at them, unnervingly fast and bloodthirsty. More appear. Batman and Robin use their grappling hooks to escape. The duo flees in the Batmobile. The airborne toxin is gone, but infection now spreads through touch. Alfred radios in, and Batman warns him to stay in the Batcave. As they strategize, the bat signal remains lit. On the GCPD rooftop, Commissioner Gordon and his officers await them. Only Gordon's eyes are vacant, his skin tinged blue. He's infected. They attack, and the heroes fight back, but Batgirl arrives just in time, only to reveal she's turned too. Robin manages to restrain her, while Batman collects a hair sample from Gordon. Smoke grenades cover their escape. Back in the Batcave, Batman studies the sample, while Robin struggles with the reality of fighting his friends. Then, Alfred stumbles into the room, infected. Batman knocks him unconscious and locks him in a holding cell. But how did he get infected in the Batcave? With only hours left, Batman confronts Strange in Arkham. Strange reveals that the police unknowingly seized a stockpile of the antidote days ago. But when Batman turns to find Robin missing, Strange's zombies descend. Batman barely escapes. He retrieves the antidote from the GCPD evidence locker, but now he's alone. Batgirl and Robin, infected, pursue him on Batcycles. They attack, but Batman evades them. Retreating to a hidden secondary Batcave, he works tirelessly, creating vapor bombs to distribute the cure. Back to the present, Batman is ready to detonate, but Robin and Batgirl stop him. They fight, and Batman hears Robin mumble something. The phrase lingers. Clarity strikes. Strange had poisoned him from the start. The cure he was about to release would doom Gotham. Dropping the detonator, he lets Robin deactivate it. Batgirl sprays him, and suddenly the illusion shatters. Gotham is safe. Robin and Batgirl had already been cured and worked to save him. Strange had manipulated his mind all along. Sane again, Bruce Wayne stands before a cheering Gotham, delivering his speech at last. Episode 46, Artifacts. In the year 3027, two adventurers, Moya and Grey, explore the depths of a long-forgotten cave. As they make their way through the eerie darkness, Moya remarks that this might be the Batcave, the legendary lair of Gotham's elusive protector. Grey, ever the pragmatic one, jots down notes in his journal, noting the date as August 8th, 3027. Soon, a group of scientists join them, eager to uncover the secrets of this ancient place. One scientist approaches a weathered console, attempting to hack into its archaic systems. The hacker grimaces, frustrated by the computer's outdated technology, but continues, knowing that the hope of New Gotham rests within it. Moya, meanwhile, stumbles upon the iconic Batmobile, her eyes lighting up with delight. Flashback to 2027. A much older Batman, scarred and weary, speaks with Oracle over the Batmobile's radio. He's called to stop Mr. Freeze, now known as Freeze 2.0, who has begun terrorizing Gotham. Batman, struggling against the ravages of age, fights with all his strength, but it's clear that his body is no longer what it once was. Freeze, with his cryogenic powers, threatens to freeze the entire city. Batman is forced to make a desperate move when he learns that a cargo plane, rerouted in the chaos, is running out of fuel. As Freeze prepares to unleash his devastating plan, Batman and Nightwing make their move. Nightwing arrives just in time to rescue the cargo plane's pilot. Together, he and Batman confront Freeze, but the villain is one step ahead. With the diamond he's stolen, he activates a machine that will keep Gotham frozen forever. In a tragic turn, Nightwing is frozen solid by Freeze's weapon, leaving Batman alone to face his old foe. Just as Freeze is about to deliver the final blow, Batman, unable to move, orders the Batwing to fire. The missiles strike, freeing Batman and Nightwing, but Freeze is not finished yet. In a final confrontation, Batman defeats Freeze 2.0, but the villain manages to escape, promising to return. Back in 3027, Moya and Grey discover more about the Batcave's past, and Moya speculates that Thomas Wayne was Batman, Martha his Batgirl, and their son, Bruce the Red Robin. They find an old wheelchair next to the Bat computer, and Moya assumes it belongs to Alfred Pennyworth. However, it's revealed that Oracle, Barbara Gordon, was the one in the chair, while an elderly Alfred offered his support. Back in the future, Grey, frustrated by the inability to hack the Bat computer, punches a wall in frustration. To his surprise, the wall reveals hidden binary code, an encrypted message from Batman himself. As they decode it, they learn that Freeze 2.0 has returned, once again threatening Gotham. Just as all hope seems lost, a shadow falls over the city. Batman, impossibly alive after all these years, swoops down to defeat the villain. Freeze, terrified, is once again defeated. The scientists, now dressed as Batmen, thank the Dark Knight for his legacy. The Batcave is reborn, not just as a symbol of the past, but as a headquarters for a new generation of heroes, dedicated to protecting Gotham. In the back of the cave stands a towering statue honoring the original Batman, a hero who would never be forgotten.
I believe in choice.
Episode 47, Seconds. Francis Gray, a desperate thief, breaks into a chemical lab, stealing a canister in a botched heist. A guard catches him, but Gray rewinds time, going back to the exact moment where he made his mistake. With foreknowledge, he pulls off the theft flawlessly, yet the guard still pursues him. Gray uses his advantage to take the man down. Days later, at Wayne Manor, the Bat Team receives an alert of another theft at a chemical company. Batman confronts the thief and manages to knock him down, but Gray, undeterred, rewinds time again, carefully anticipating Batman's every move to escape. As Batman reviews the footage, he grows suspicious. The thief seems to know every step of the process, as though he's seen it all before. Meanwhile, Gray, now in his hideout, focuses on crafting a deadly device. His mind drifts back to a time when he was a clock repairman, struggling to make ends meet for his wife and son. Faced with mounting bills, he had resorted to stealing a clock, triggering a chain reaction that spiraled into disaster. An alarm went off, a policeman intervened, and a car crash caused a power outage and a deadly explosion. Gray was sent to prison for 17 years, losing his family in the process. Batman and his team soon uncover Gray's identity and realise that there's a time discrepancy. Gray has used his time-warping ability to craft a deadly poison gas, but he needs one final component. The Bat Team tracks him to a chemical warehouse, where Batman senses something is off. Time seems to loop, repeating itself. Gray, having rehearsed his every move, is always a step ahead. In a tense chase, Gray escapes again, using his time manipulation to outmaneuver the team. Batman, however, figures out that Gray's ultimate goal is to release the poison at the stroke of midnight, contaminating the heart of the city during New Year's celebrations. Batman dispatches Batgirl to a special mission, while he and Robin track Gray to the New Year's ball. As the countdown begins, the ball descends, but Gray, having anticipated every action, prepares to trigger the poison release. Batman fails to stop him, but Robin takes action, going after the ball while Batman holds Gray at bay. In the chaos, Gray's poison gas detonates. Everyone, including Matthew, Gray's son, perishes, except for Gray, who survives with a gas mask. Consumed by grief, Gray unknowingly pushes his powers beyond their limits, reversing time all the way back to when he first stole the watch that started his downward spiral. This time, he chooses not to steal the watch, erasing the events that led him down his dark path. Back in the manor, a few days before New Year's Eve, the Bat Team is together once more. This time, Gray is no longer a thief, but a clock repairman, happily working alongside his son, with his family intact and his past undone.
Oh no!
Episode 48, Riddler's Revenge. On a cargo ship where the Riddler, along with his goons, has kidnapped Chuck Gorman, a businessman whom the Riddler holds responsible for his transformation into a criminal mastermind. Batman arrives just in time to free Chuck, and a chaotic fight breaks out. In the confusion, Chuck manages to escape on a small boat and steals the Riddler's cane, causing the cargo ship to explode in a fiery blast. Batman and the Riddler dive into a nearby container for safety, just as the container plunges into the sea. Underwater, the Riddler begins to unravel his past, explaining to Batman how Gotham's greatest criminal was once just a boy named Edward Nygma, obsessed with puzzles and games. His father, a man addicted to baseball, paid little attention to Edward's brilliant mind. As Edward grew older, he pushed the limits of his intellect, from solving complex puzzles to committing daring heists, including stealing a precious diamond. In his early 20s, Edward worked with his friend Julie at university, developing a device that could enhance brain power, allowing people to learn new languages in minutes. However, during their project's public demonstration, the device malfunctioned. When the tester collapsed with a brain freeze, Edward blamed Chuck Gorman, convinced he had sabotaged the invention. Consumed by anger, Edward vowed revenge. devising complex riddles to torment Gorman. Batman intervened, saving Chuck, and Edward, now calling himself the Riddler, was born. As Batman listens to the Riddler's tragic origin, he offers a crucial hint, helping Edward realize that it wasn't Chuck who sabotaged the device after all. Together, they escape the sinking container, only to be confronted by a mysterious boat. Batman, on guard, is suddenly blindsided by the Riddler, who knocks him to the ground. The boat is revealed to be filled with the Riddler's henchmen, who toss him his cane. Standing triumphantly over Batman, the Riddler prepares to end the Dark Knight's life, but just as the sharp end of his staff descends, Robin swoops in to save the day. The fight continues, but eventually, Batman and Robin triumph. As they walk away, Batman orders Robin not to remove Julie from her seat just yet, and looks at a weeping Riddler.
Come yeller, I look swell, but you look sweller, setting the woods on fire.
Episode 49, Two of a Kind. The Joker, with his loyal henchmen Punch and Judy, orchestrates a heist at the art museum, swiping priceless paintings. Suddenly, Batgirl swings in, kicking off a chaotic fight. As Batgirl knocks out the henchmen, Robin and Batman arrive, and Batman quickly apprehends the Joker with his bat rope. But Joker has a trick up his sleeve. He pulls out a purple grenade and tosses it into the air, just enough to explode in Batman's face. Though the explosion is intense, Batman lands unharmed. But what he doesn't see is the ceiling beginning to collapse. As the rubble rains down, Batman and his sidekicks are trapped. Joker, always on time, checks his watch, realizes he's late, and zooms away on his rocket skateboard without a single painting in tow. Later, while Punch and Judy are arrested by the police, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl are stuck under the rubble. Batman tells his sidekicks to focus on finding Joker, as he has bigger problems to deal with. Meanwhile, the Joker, now in the comfort of his hideout, eagerly tunes into Heart to Heart with Harley, a talk show hosted by none other than Dr. Harleen Quinzel. Joker scoffs at her absurd takes on love, which only makes the show more entertaining. As Harley wraps up her segment, her producer, Jimmy Herbert, scolds her for turning the show into a circus. But Harley, ever the optimist, relishes in the chaos she's creating. Soon, Harley introduces a special guest, Bruce Wayne. While Bruce tries to steer the conversation toward his charity work, Harley is all about flirting and changing the topic. Unbeknownst to Bruce, Robin and Batgirl, still watching the show, are in disbelief. They thought Batman was busy with something important and not on a love talk show. To make matters worse, one of Bruce's ex-girlfriends, Kiki, is brought on stage, trashing him for his callousness. Bruce tries to defend himself, but the crowd turns against him. When the Joker calls in as Mr. J to further bash Bruce, Bruce storms off, furious. Backstage, Harley, sensing the chaos, is interrupted by Jimmy Herbert, who's furious about the show's direction. He cancels it live on air. Joker, watching from his hideout, grins, knowing Harley will be upset. At home, Harley is moping when Joker surprises her with a visit, offering her a proposal. Joker suggests they work together to write a book, a story about him. Initially skeptical, Harley agrees, but insists on sharing the profits. Joker, impressed but still skeptical, begins to open up about his past. In Wayne Manor, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl are investigating Joker's latest moves. Meanwhile, Joker convinces Harley to join him for a night out in Gotham, in disguise, of course. Harley dons a red and black Harlequin costume, transforming into her alter ego, Harley Quinn. Together, they embark on a night of mayhem, throwing pies at cops and poisoning squirrels. Batman arrives to stop them, but Joker's trickery leads to an intense chase. Eventually, the two villains escape, gliding away with a tiny umbrella Joker learned to use from Penguin. The next day, Harley watches herself on the news, realizing her secret identity has been exposed. Frustrated, she smashes her TV. Joker, ever the romantic, arrives with a large diamond for her, but Harley, truly hurt by the past events, has other plans. She wants revenge on Dr. Blaine, the psychologist who evaluated her. Joker, ever the supportive partner, gleefully agrees. That night, the clowns trash Dr. Blaine's show. With Harley taking the lead, they terrorize the set, trapping Blaine and the producers. Batman and Robin rush to the scene, but Joker and Harley have everything rigged to explode. The two sides clash in an explosive showdown, and as the building crumbles, Batman manages to save Harley from the flames. Outside, As the chaos settles, Batman tells her that the Joker only cares about himself. Harley, broken, is taken away by the police, but before she's carted off, she finds a message from Joker. As she bursts into manic laughter, Joker, miles away, shares her joy. The game, as always, continues. Episode 50, Rumors. The episode opens and Killer Croc relaxes after a successful bank robbery. The thrill of the heist was still fresh in the air as Croc began to inspect their loot, eager to assess their spoils. But when he turned around, his henchmen were nowhere to be seen. Panicked, Croc assumed that Batman had already gotten the drop on them, but there was no sign of the Dark Knight. Instead, a familiar scent filled the air, confirming that something or someone else was at play. Before Croc could react, he felt a sharp tug on his tail. A struggle ensued, a brief but intense fight before the mysterious attacker stunned Croc with an electric shock coursing through the water beneath him, knocking him unconscious. When Croc awoke, he found himself bound and gagged in a high-tech glass cell. Confused, he demanded answers. His assailant, now revealed, declared that this would be the end of Gotham's supervillains. Elsewhere in Gotham, Bruce and Dick watched a news report about Killer Croc's sudden disappearance, alongside other notorious villains like Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and the Riddler. The reporter raised the unsettling question of whether Gotham could handle two vigilantes. Dick defended Batman, remarking that it wasn't their fault that Gotham's criminals kept escaping Arkham. The next night, Batman and Robin were called to another crime scene. This time, the mystery vigilante had apprehended Ragdoll, Killer Moth, and Firefly. Robin, though impressed with the vigilante's efficiency, disagreed with Batman's assessment that the stranger wasn't a hero. Batman's sense of justice told him that no true hero would imprison criminals without due process. At the art museum, Batman and Robin confronted Catwoman as she made off with a golden statue. Their conversation turned tense, but it was abruptly interrupted by the sudden appearance of the new vigilante, Rumor. Armed with a bow staff and an eerie ability to disappear at will, Rumor made it clear that Gotham's criminals, no matter their status, were his target. Batman tried to track Rumor's movements using his heat vision, but the vigilante's suit was designed to absorb body heat. Rumor quickly dismantled Batman's strategy by dropping a chandelier onto him and Robin, and in the chaos, Catwoman made her escape with the statue. While Batman worked on analysing a piece of Rumor's suit in the Batcave, he uncovered a crucial detail. Rumor was using advanced light-refracting nanofibers, technology developed by Karen Industries. It didn't take long for Batman and Robin to trace the origins of the mysterious vigilante to Paul Karen, a former scientist at Karen Industries. Karen had once developed a powerful weapon, but when Batman had saved the day, Karen had been injured in the process. Now, Karen's bodyguard Mario, who was revealed to be Rumor, had taken up the cause of capturing Gotham's criminals. Despite Karen's protests, Batman and Robin infiltrated Karen Industries, where they discovered prototypes for Karen's mechanical legs. Paul revealed that he had designed the exosuit in hopes of helping others like him, those who had been disabled or maimed. But when pressed, it became clear that Karen wasn't as innocent as he claimed. Rumor, driven by a thirst for vengeance, had begun rounding up Gotham's most dangerous criminals to imprison them indefinitely. Batman and Robin confronted him one final time, telling him that his mission wasn't about justice. It was about personal redemption for his inability to save Paul. The climax was chaotic, as Gotham's most infamous criminals, ranging from the Joker to Bane, joined the fray. Batman and Robin fought valiantly, slowly dismantling Rumor's operation. The moment finally came when Batman was able to disable the machine controlling Rumor's invisibility, and the criminals were set loose. In the ensuing chaos, Gotham's villains clashed with one another, but Batman and Robin stayed focused on the bigger picture. With Rumor finally defeated and the villains arrested, Gotham had been saved once again, but not without its own toll. As the GCPD arrived to clean up the mess, Catwoman slipped into the night, leaving only Hugo Strange and herself free for now. Gotham's streets had quieted for the moment, but everyone knew that in this city, peace was always temporary.
Tell that to Clayface.
Episode 51, The Joining, Part 1. At the Wayne Industries, Bruce, along with Dick, pays a complimentary visit and found Lucius Fox hard at work, overseeing the tech and gadgetry that helped fuel Batman's operations. As they toured the facilities, Lucius casually mentioned his role in creating the Batcave and the Shadow Tech gadgets. It was a subtle admission. He knew Bruce's secret. After all, he had built parts of the Batcave. Bruce was quiet as Lucius revealed how deeply involved he had been in the shadows of his operations, but he dismissed any concern about the secret being exposed. Once they were outside, Dick asked if there was anyone else who knew Bruce's alter ego. Bruce's answer was firm. Lucius was the first and last. He never relied on anyone, especially when it came to keeping secrets. Later, Lucius was in his office, reflecting on the day's events, when a shadowy figure entered his space. To his shock, it was himself, a mechanical duplicate, part of an alien plot he had no idea was unfolding. Meanwhile, Batman was busy, helping Batgirl and Robin thwart a group of robbers. As they worked, Batman couldn't shake the feeling that he was growing too dependent on others. The moment he arrived at the crime scene, he met Detective John Jones, who noted that the robbers seemed to be targeting Wayne Industries tech. Batman made a note to investigate further. Bruce's suspicion deepened when he examined one of the stolen crates. It contained anti-gravity technology, something Wayne Industries had never produced. After a tense phone call with Bruce's investigation led him to Jones. The detective's records didn't add up, and Batman found him morphing into various people on surveillance footage. When Batman confronted Jones, he revealed his true form, John Johns, a shape-shifting alien from Mars. John had discovered Bruce's secret, but he had something more urgent to share. An alien invasion, led by the robotic joining, was underway. They stripped planets of their technology, and Wayne Industries was their next target. Batman and John teamed up, first tracking down a robotic duplicate of Lucius, and eventually rescuing the real Lucius, who was imprisoned at Wayne Industries. But even with Lucius safe, they couldn't stop the Joining's fleet from taking off, using anti-gravity platforms to launch their invasion. With ships soaring into the sky, the world's fate hung in the balance. Episode 52, The Joining, Part 2. The episode begins where it left off. On the rooftop of Wayne Industries, the Joining's robotic forces launch a brutal attack on Batman and John. Meanwhile, alien ships circle ominously above. Batman creates an escape route, blowing a hole in the rooftop, and flees with Lucius down into the lower levels. Meanwhile, John fights off the robots long enough for them to escape in the Batmobile. The explosion Batman triggered goes off just as John makes his escape. Back in the Batcave, Batgirl and Robin anxiously wait for their return. When Batman finally arrives, he briefs them on the attack, while Alfred tends to Lucius's injuries. The team watches in horror as Earth is ravaged by the Joining's invasion. Batman struggles to find a solution to the anti-gravity problem, only to be confronted by Lucius's replicant head, which reveals the Joining cannot be defeated easily. Despite the Commissioner's best efforts, the Joining continues their relentless assault. Batman realizes the only way to stop them is to use a failsafe he once built into Wayne Industries technology. The only way to activate it is through a satellite relay at Wayne Industries. Batman insists on going alone to avoid putting anyone else in danger, but John insists on joining him, reminding Batman that teamwork is key. Back in the Batcave, Robin and Batgirl feel helpless until Alfred encourages them to defy Batman's orders and help him. The two quickly rebuild the platform Batman dismantled earlier. Meanwhile, Lucius and Alfred devise a plan to assist Batman. The villains reluctantly cooperate with Commissioner Gordon in a desperate bid to stop the Joining. With the platform repaired, Batgirl and Robin join the fray, helping Batman activate the failsafe and neutralize the robotic sentries. The team holds off the remaining robots long enough for Batman to access the system and successfully trigger the satellites, shutting down the Joining's invasion. As reconstruction begins, Batman reflects on the value of teamwork. John invites him to join other heroes on a space station, and though Batman has already been monitoring them, he realizes that working together is the only way forward. Season 5, 2007 to 2008. Episode 53, The Batman Superman Story, Part 1. 1 year after the devastating attack on Gotham City, Superman is scheduled to arrive with a giant-sized check representing Metropolis's contribution to the rebuilding efforts. Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen are in the audience, covering the event alongside Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson. As the two spar over which of their city's protectors is superior, Clark calls Lois. His press pass has been stolen and he needs help getting in. Lois hangs up, leaving Clark to make his entrance as Superman. He arrives and presents the check, but things take a sudden turn. A green-eyed man leaps onto the stage and shoves Superman aside with unnerving strength. The man reveals himself to be Metallo, a cyborg with a kryptonite heart. The radiation weakens Superman, and Metallo seizes the opportunity to drag him into a nearby junkyard to finish him off. But Batman and Robin arrive in the nick of time, ramming Metallo into a building with the Batmobile. The impact rips off Metallo's synthetic skin, but Robin uses an explosive batarang to blast the kryptonite heart free. Robin takes the heart, and Superman, now revived, easily defeats Metallo. Superman demands the kryptonite back, but Batman insists on keeping it for 24 hours. Peaked, Superman uses his X-ray vision to expose Batman's secret identity as Bruce Wayne before flying off. In Metropolis, Lex Luthor hears that Metallo has been defeated and that the kryptonite is missing. Growing frustrated with the lack of villains in his city, Luthor decides to recruit some of Gotham's finest. Meanwhile, Batman and Robin meet with Lucius Fox at Wayne Industries, where a prototype exoskeleton suit is being tested for potential alien threats. Batman orders that the kryptonite be encased in lead, and he plots out Superman's movements, suspecting a link between Clark Kent and the Daily Planet. Later, Lois turns down Clark's invitation for a date, and back at his apartment, Clark finds Bruce waiting for him. Bruce hands him the lead-sealed kryptonite and then informs him about the Justice League's first meeting. Clark isn't interested in teaming up. He prefers to work alone. In a bold move, he hurls the kryptonite into the sun, hoping to rid himself of the lingering threat. But when Lois is kidnapped by Clayface and taken to Black Mask's hideout, Superman finds himself weak and overwhelmed by a team-up of Gotham's finest villains. With the help of Batman and Robin, Superman defeats Bane, but Clayface escapes. Lois reveals that Black Mask is working for Luthor, which leads Superman straight to Luthor's Gotham headquarters. There, Lex captured Poison Ivy and modified her plant spores with kryptonite, forcing Superman into submission with the mind-controlling spores. Episode 54, The Batman-Superman Story, Part 2. In the last episode, Superman faces an impossible situation, and this episode opens with Batman and Robin scouting to find the missing Superman. Their search leads them to Lex Luthor's empty office, where Batman discovers a vial. Back at the Batcave, Batman identifies traces of Poison Ivy's mind control spores mixed with kryptonite. They head to Luthor's weapons lab, where Batman infiltrates while Robin stands guard. Inside, Batman uncovers an army of newly manufactured battle robots, and in a sealed glass cell finds Poison Ivy. As he investigates further, Clayface, still working for Luthor, attacks. Batman quickly uses a flash dehydrate to turn him into dust. Just then, Luthor arrives, pushing Superman forward, wearing a rebreather that pumps kryptonite spores into his lungs. Luthor boasts of his plan to protect Earth from alien invaders, claiming his robots can override military systems and unite the world's armies under his command. Batman, unimpressed, destroys the rebreather with batarangs. As Luthor orders Superman to chase Batman, the Dark Knight uses a piece of kryptonite to escape, only to be cornered on a rooftop. Robin rescues him mid-fall, and a group of boys unwittingly removes the kryptonite from Superman. Back in the Batcave, Batman reveals that the kryptonite is a fake, while the real one is safely hidden. Superman, having tracked them down with X-ray vision, bursts in. Batman attempts to hold him off with the kryptonite, but Superman's super breath knocks it away. Batman climbs into the Batbot, telling Robin to slow Superman down while he formulates a plan. The battle escalates, with Superman under Poison Ivy's control, but Batman manages to release a plant-killer gas that breaks the spore's hold on Superman. Realizing the value of teamwork, Superman joins forces with Batman and Robin to take down Luthor's robots. At LexCorp, they face off against Luthor, who emerges as a giant battle robot. Batman disables it with an electrical disruptor, and Superman handles the rest. Later, aboard the Justice League base, Superman thanks Batman for his help and expresses interest in joining the League. Batman, intending to hand over the kryptonite, is surprised when Superman insists he keep it just in case. Episode 55, Vertigo. Green Arrow, ever the lone wolf, finds himself breaking into a Wayne Labs facility under mysterious circumstances. But before he can gather any information, he's ambushed by 3 ninjas. In the heat of the moment, he accidentally triggers an alarm and a fight ensues. Meanwhile, Alfred, chauffeuring Bruce to a night out, spots the approaching police cars and decides to investigate. They follow the trail to the lab, where Green Arrow is already tangled in a battle. When the police arrive, the Emerald Archer easily takes them out with a smoke arrow before running straight into Bruce Wayne. Without missing a beat, Green Arrow pins him against the limo, accusing Wayne of poisoning children before disappearing into the night. Later, at the hospital, Bruce and Dick discover a strange outbreak in the area surrounding the lab. Oliver Queen, Star City's wealthy philanthropist, is there too, donating money to help the victims. It doesn't take long for Batman and Robin to connect the dots. They track down the water source and are interrupted by Green Arrow, who's initially mistaken for an enemy. But after a brief exchange, the two realise they're on the same side. Robin, however, is soon struck with dizziness, along with Batman and Green Arrow, as mysterious ninjas close in, their headpieces protecting them from the effects. Looking up, Green Arrow spots their enemy, Count Vertigo, whose eyepiece is the source of the dizziness. After a battle that leaves Robin swept away in a river, Green Arrow saves the day with his quick thinking and a well-timed net arrow. Back at the Batcave, Oliver Queen reveals his backstory, explaining how Vertigo once stranded him on an island, forcing him to master archery for survival. The two heroes uncover Vertigo's plan to amplify his powers with a massive gyroscopic device, but Batman and Green Arrow soon thwart him. In the end, after a high-speed chase and a battle on Vertigo's helicopter, they defeat the villain. Green Arrow, reluctantly admitting his error in judgment, prepares to head back to Star City, leaving behind a few ideas for the Batcave. Robin, however, still can't quite handle a bow without causing some chaos. Episode 56, White Heat. At Gotham University, where Firefly and his new partner Blay are in the midst of a daring heist. They've just stolen a radioactive isotope, and things are going smoothly until a group of cops bursts in, guns drawn. Firefly threatens to drop the isotope, knowing it could trigger an explosion that would kill everyone in the room. The cops hesitate, allowing the couple to make their escape. Later, in an apartment, Firefly begins modifying his jetpack with the stolen isotope while confessing his love for Blaze. She explains how the isotope will enhance his battlesuit, and he dreams of stealing enough money to escape Gotham and live a life free from Batman's shadow. But when a news report reveals their crime, the reporter mistakenly dubs Firefly B-Man, igniting his fury. Enraged by the public's lack of respect for his name, Firefly doesn't realize how dangerously close he is to overheating the isotope. It ignites in an explosion that destroys the apartment. Blaze walks away unscathed, but Firefly is enveloped in an eerie orange glow. Batman, Robin, and Batgirl are soon investigating the wreckage, finding remnants of Firefly's jetpack and an old photograph of him and Blaze. Batman reveals that Blaze turned to crime after her project at Gotham University was shut down. Batgirl, inspecting the debris, questions the strange energy readings from the isotope, sensing that something is wrong. Meanwhile, Blaze rushes Firefly to safety, but his condition worsens. He's too hot to sit in the car and nearly causes an accident. When a police car chases him, Firefly uses his newfound fire powers to torch it. He attempts to rob an ATM, but his inability to control the flames results in the money being reduced to ash. Determined, Firefly shrugs it off and vows to master his powers. Even as Batman, Robin, and Batgirl close in, the battle intensifies, with Batman using ice bombs to freeze Firefly. But the transformation is irreversible. His eyes glow orange, his skin turns darker, and red lines spread across his body. He declares that he is no longer Firefly, but Phosphorus. He and Blay continue their crime spree, robbing a bank, only to discover that his heat is so intense that even gold melts when he touches it. Batman and his team arrive to stop him, but Phosphorus is nearly unstoppable, overwhelming them in battle. At the Batcave, Batman learns that Phosphorus's powers will grow exponentially until he melts through Gotham itself. Batgirl sets out to find him before it's too late. Meanwhile, Phosphorus, now unable to touch anything without incinerating it, begins to spiral into madness. He destroys a grocery store, his frustration building as he realizes he can no longer live like a normal person. Blaze tries to console him, but Phosphorus believes she's betrayed him, attacking her in a fit of rage. Batgirl intervenes, but Phosphorus storms off toward the power plant. Eventually, Batman suits up in a radiation-shielded suit to confront Phosphorus. Batgirl and Blaze try to stop him, but Phosphorus is determined to destroy the power plant. When Batman throws a fire extinguisher at him, the explosion disrupts his focus long enough for Batman to release liquid nitrogen, freezing Phosphorus and ending his rampage. At Arkham, a doctor informs Phosphorus that while they can manage his powers with medication, the damage to his mind and body is irreversible. As Blaze visits him, she sadly tells him that their spark has faded, leaving Phosphorus heartbroken. In the final scene, the doctor gently suggests that Phosphorus get some rest, as his long journey is far from over. Episode 57, A Mirror Darkly. Batman and Robin look into a break-in at Gotham Advanced Optics, only to find themselves facing a shocking adversary, Batman. The imposter swiftly takes them down and escapes into a room with no exits, only to vanish into thin air. Moments later, he steps out of a mirror. Back at the Batcave, they review security footage and notice something odd. The duplicate mirrored Batman's every move and was left-handed. Before they can process this, another theft is reported at a lens-grinding plant. Rushing to the scene, they encounter the Flash, who immediately attacks them. Batman freezes him, but the speedster vibrates free and disappears into another dead-end room, just like the fake Batman. The real Flash soon arrives at the Batcave, phasing through the walls. Batman deduces that the imposter is also a mirror duplicate. Flash confirms their suspicions. Dr. Samuel Scudder, now the villainous Mirror Master, is behind the thefts. Meanwhile, Mirror Master and his henchwoman, Smoke, work on a mysterious device. A third break-in at the Gotham Observatory leads the heroes into a trap. Mirror duplicates of themselves attack, but they manage to defeat them. Mirror Master and Smoke escape with the final component, leaving behind a rapidly growing forest of razor-sharp glass trees. The Flash vibrates everyone to safety. Back at the Batcave, disaster strikes. Mirror Master activates his device, causing people across Gotham to be sucked into mirrors. Robin and Alfred vanish into a serving platter. Tracking the energy source, Batman and Flash confront Mirror Master, only to be trapped in a mirror dimension. Thinking fast, Batman snatches the villain's portal ray, frees himself and Flash, and stops the plan just in time. As the Flash hauls the criminals off to jail, Batman muses about its urgency. Maybe it won't be quick enough. Episode 58, Joker Express. It was a typical day in Gotham City, and, as a subway train rushed by, an old woman bank teller worked quietly, putting away bags of money in the vault. The friendly security guard greeted her, but the woman's response was a strange giggle. She excused herself and slipped into the vault, her laughter growing louder and more maniacal. When the guard peered in, he was struck by a runaway money cart that the old lady was riding, her insane expression sending a chill down his spine. She sped around the bank, tossing money into the air like confetti, still cackling as she escaped on the cart. Batman arrived just in time to stop the cart, but the woman grabbed 2 sacks of money and ran. Robin and Batgirl quickly intercepted, but her manic speed made her a slippery target. Finally, Batgirl took her down with a bowler. Batman approached the woman, realizing the Joker's handiwork. The laughter wasn't limited to her. Across Gotham, citizens were committing bizarre robberies, all with no memory of their actions. On the roof of the GCPD building, Batman explained to Commissioner Gordon that the robberies were too scattered to be linked, with no clear pattern emerging. Gordon's men had questioned the criminals, but they all claimed to have no idea how or why they'd been hypnotized. As Batman and Gordon spoke, Robin and Batgirl noticed Batgirl beginning to chuckle uncontrollably, and soon she was part of the chaos, stealing jewelry from a local shop. The fight that ensued saw Batgirl facing off against Robin, with Batgirl emerging victorious. Just as she prepared to cut Robin's rope, Batman intervened, spraying Batgirl with an antidote that snapped her out of the hypnosis. Batgirl had no memory of her actions and was shocked to find herself surrounded by stolen goods. As they pieced together the puzzle, Batman deduced that the Joker was using a train to hypnotize his victims, the flickering lights on board triggering the mind control. The Joker, always one step ahead, had anticipated Batman's moves, using a train to escape from Gotham with the stolen loot. The chase led the heroes to an old coal mine, where Joker's plan unraveled. After being trapped in a cage and nearly killed by a rigged train, Batman's quick thinking saved the day. Using one of Joker's dynamite sticks, Batman managed to escape with Robin and Batgirl, racing against time to stop the Joker from blowing up all of Gotham. They tracked the villain to a train speeding towards the city limits, the Batmobile closing in on the escape. The heroes fought their way onto the train, with Batman expertly using a tightrope to cross between the moving cars. The Joker, ever unpredictable, used an acid flower to sabotage the Batrope, but the heroes stopped him in time and Batman fought his way to the detonator. The Joker's attempts to detonate the city failed, as Batman had already stolen the battery. With the train stopped, the Joker was apprehended and Gotham was saved. Back in the Batcave, Batman scolded his sidekicks for their suggestions of having their own personal caves. Batgirl, unfazed, remarked that maybe she could have a Batgirl cave, and Robin chimed in with his own wish for a cave, but Batman, ever the voice of reason, shut them down. As the trio bickered, Batgirl offered Robin a much-needed distraction, shopping. With a wink, she invited him to join her for a handbag sale. Robin chuckled, joking about Commissioner Gordon being the real Joker, and for once, the Dark City felt a little brighter. Episode 59, Ring Toss. The episode opens and Dick heaves a mighty sigh as he walked out of school, only to find Alfred waiting for him inside a sleek black limo. Apparently, he is not very overtly thrilled to see the butler there. Unbothered, Alfred adjusted his gloves and reminded him that Bruce wanted Dick at the charity event post-haste. However, currently, Batman is stuck meeting with Green Lantern in the Batcave. Dick's mood flipped instantly, since to him, Green Lantern happens to be the coolest of all. Meanwhile, at the Batcave, Batman and Green Lantern stood before the massive Batcomputer, scanning the galaxy. The League's systems were down, leaving them blind. The main topic of discussion was apparently how Sinestro escaped. Green Lantern wants to handle it himself once he gathers concrete intel on the man. Batman frowned, but nodded. Just then, Robin arrived, barely containing his excitement. Batman sighed, thinking it was going to be a long night. Meanwhile, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, returned to his job as a test pilot, only to be ambushed by Sinestro. The renegade demanded his ring, wanting to combine its power with his own. They fought, but Sinestro targeted civilians, forcing Green Lantern to protect them instead. Nearing defeat, Hal made a desperate move. He sent his power ring away, letting it find Batman while he disappeared into the city. At the charity event, Bruce and Dick remained unaware that the Penguin was plotting to steal the donation money. But before he could act, the Green Lantern ring floated into the room. The Penguin, ever the opportunist, snatched it, and to his shock, when he shouted, "Stop!" he started floating. Realizing its power, he went on a crime spree, robbing the city while Batman and Robin struggled to contain him. Hal Jordan, now powerless, arrived in Gotham carrying his lantern battery in a duffel bag. He hijacked a truck and rammed it into the Penguin, creating a distraction, but things got worse. Sinestro appeared, intent on reclaiming the ring. Terrified, Penguin fled and hid in a clock tower. Batman cornered him and convinced him to hand over the ring, just as Sinestro loomed closer. With no time to waste, Batman took to the sky, using the ring to battle Sinestro, but then, flicker, the ring's power was running out. Sinestro smirked, noting its 24-hour charge limit. As Batman plummeted, he discreetly tossed the ring to Hal, who recharged it just in time. Before Sinestro could react, Batman got close enough to slip the yellow ring off his hand. Furious, Sinestro tried to blast him, only to realize too late that his power was gone. Batman landed the final punch. Green Lantern, impressed despite himself, admitted Batman could handle himself just fine, even without powers. As he flew off with Sinestro in tow, Batman looked down at the ring which caused so much trouble.
Shock it all!
Episode 60, The Metal Face of Comedy. Our boy Dick tightened his grip on his virtual Eskrima sticks as Nightwing faced off against the villainous Captain Slash. The VR simulation of a chemical plant flickered around them as the battle raged. Despite his skill, Dick found himself bested once again. Frustrated, he logged off, unaware that his opponent was Marty Slack, a hacker using the game to help the Joker pull off real-world bank heists. At Gotham National Bank, Marty botched a crucial transfer, angering the Joker. Desperate to appease him, he unveiled a new device, a virtual reality helmet that could transfer digital funds directly into the Joker's accounts. Meanwhile, at Wayne Industries, Bruce Wayne showcased an advanced nanobot project to investors, tiny machines capable of reshaping into any form. His presentation was cut short when an alert signaled the Joker's break-in at Gotham Bank. Batman and Robin stormed the bank, swiftly dispatching the Joker's lackeys, Punch and Judy. But the real threat loomed. Joker had already begun siphoning funds through the VR helmet. A desperate grenade toss from the Joker was met with a well-aimed batarang, resulting in an explosion that fried the VR helmet. Batman severed the Joker's connection to the system, but not before an ominous realization. The Joker's consciousness had been copied into the digital realm. Robin, noticing Captain Slash's insignia on the device, suspected a link to the game, but before they could act, Marty uploaded Joker 2.0 into his home system. While the real Joker was hospitalized, Joker 2.0 learned of Wayne Industries' nanobot project and infiltrated the city's networks. Batman's attempt to neutralize him with a virus failed. Robin deduced Joker 2.0 had hidden within a game. The virus attack forced the AI to flee, but before they could trap him, Marty uploaded him into Wayne Industries' nanobots. Joker 2.0 fashioned himself a new shape-shifting body and became an even deadlier threat. Freed from the hospital, the real Joker encountered his digital doppelganger. At first, they agreed to work together, though both harbored plans of betrayal. During a gem heist, Joker 2.0 double-crossed his human counterpart and took control of his gang. As Batman and Robin pursued, Joker 2.0 hijacked the Batmobile, attempting to crush them. A quick EMP blast from Batman temporarily disrupted him, but the AI adapted, growing stronger and multiplying. As the Joker tried to reclaim his crew, Joker 2.0 launched an attack. Batman, nearly overtaken by nanobots, redirected a satellite dish while Robin downloaded Joker 2.0 back into the gaming world. With the threat contained, Robin relished his victory, beating Joker 2.0 senseless in the virtual realm, ensuring the AI knew defeat at Nightwing's hands.
Time for the antidote.
Episode 61, Attack of the Terrible Trio. A beach party was in full swing when a girl named Shelley swam out into the ocean. Laughter and music filled the air until someone spotted a shark fin cutting through the waves toward her. The partygoers screamed, but the fin stopped just short of Shelley. She blinked in confusion. Then, the creature attached to it rose from the water, a humanoid shark. Shelley gasped, reaching out, thinking it had to be a costume, but the rubbery texture wouldn't peel away. Before she could react, the shark flung her from the water. Panic erupted on the shore. Students ran, scrambling for their cars, only to be blocked by a massive vulture swooping down and a fox darting through the crowd, forcing them to scatter. The next morning, Night Times ran the shocking headline. At Gotham University, Batman and Batgirl met with Dr. Kirk Langstrom. Though once the monstrous man-bat, Langstrom insisted he had reformed. However, someone had stolen his transformation mutagen. After dropping Batgirl off, Batman nearly forgot she was no longer a high schooler. Barbara was a college student now. She soon crossed paths with three misfits, David, Justin, and Amber, who were whispering about the chaos at the party. Meanwhile, David's new jock roommate, Jake, threw a massive party in their shared room. When David protested, Jake shoved him out, making it clear he wasn't invited. Barbara tried to intervene, but David brushed her off. That night, Jake wandered to the swimming pool alone. The lights flickered. The shark emerged. He bolted for the exit but was met by the vulture and the fox. He barely had time to scream before Fox slapped a patch onto his skin. Jake convulsed, his body twisting and growing as Batgirl arrived. Batman joined the fight, taking down Shark and Vulture, but Fox escaped. Then, Jake, now a mindless, gorilla-like beast, rampaged across campus. Batman subdued him, extracting a blood sample for Langstrom. The next morning, the college president announced mandatory DNA testing for all students. David, Justin, and Amber panicked. If they were caught, their experiments would be over, so they made a new plan: infect everyone before sunrise. In the Batcave, Barbara examined a feather from the scene, a vulture. Batman returned with an antidote. At the stadium that night, they discovered blueprints for an attack. The trio struck first, ambushing them with transformation patches. As the big game began, Vulture terrorized the marching band while Fox and Shark planted a mutagen bomb in the locker room. Trapped in a cage, Batman and Batgirl fought their way out. Batman neutralized Shark and Vulture with the antidote, but the bomb was seconds from detonation. He stopped it with a batarang, but Fox, in a frenzy, was drenched in the mutagen. He mutated into a monstrous chimera, rampaging through the stadium. Batman leaped onto him, steering him into an electrical sign and knocking him out. As the episode comes to a close, the trio, David, Justin, and Amber, found themselves just what they feared most: outcasts. Episode 62, The End of the Batman. Cobblepot cackled as he ascended into the Gotham night, his helicopter umbrella whirring overhead, the loot from his latest heist tucked under his arm. Batman and Robin swung after him, closing in, until, without warning, their lines were cut. They plummeted onto a nearby rooftop, rolling to their feet just in time to see two shadowy figures standing across the street, Wrath and Scorn. A volley of Razorangs forced them into cover, and by the time the smoke cleared, both the mysterious attackers and the Penguin were gone. Back at the Batcave, Batman analysed Gotham's traffic cameras. Wrath and Scorn had escaped on high-speed motorcycles. This wasn't their first interference either. They had been systematically aiding Gotham's criminals, throwing off the dynamic duo's pursuit at every turn. By day, Bruce and Dick met with brothers Will and Andy Mallory for a rock climbing trip. While Bruce demonstrated new Wayne Tech rappelling gear for Will, Andy and Dick's friendly competition turned into a scuffle, leaving them dangling over a chasm. Bruce and Will worked together to pull them up, but neither billionaire nor crime fighter realized the truth. Will and Andy had the Wrath and Scorn costumes hidden in their car's trunk. That night, Gotham unveiled a multi-million-dollar lottery, an obvious lure for Wrath and Scorn. But before Batman and Robin could intervene, the Joker and Harley Quinn arrived to steal the massive cash-filled lottery ball. As Wrath and Scorn ran interference, Joker grew increasingly irritated. He didn't appreciate uninvited allies. In the chaos, Wrath knocked over a stage framework. Batman barely managed to use the Batmobile's remote systems to stabilize it, but the distraction let the villains escape once more. Bruce's suspicions grew when Will cancelled their next outing. At the same time, Will himself began to question Bruce's absences. In their lair, Wrath reassured Andy that they would soon take their revenge on Batman for their parents, dual thieves who had gone to prison the same night Bruce lost his own parents to gunfire. Wrath assembled a coalition of Gotham's most dangerous criminals: Penguin, Killer Croc, the Ventriloquist, and Scarface. Joker showed up as well, still unimpressed. Their target? A shipment of engraving plates arriving by freighter. Batman and Robin anticipated the heist and moved in. During the battle, Batman recognized Wrath's climbing gear, Wayne Tech prototypes. In that moment, Wrath deduced Batman's identity and vowed to expose him to the world. While the other villains fled, Wrath and Scorn broke into Wayne Manor, capturing Alfred and demolishing the Batcave. The ensuing fight was brutal, but Batman used a sonic device to summon a swarm of bats, disorienting Wrath. Robin capitalized, triggering a training robot that knocked Scorn out cold. Later, as the duo was loaded into a police van, Wrath sneered, threatening to reveal Batman's identity unless he let them go. Batman remained steadfast. If his secret had to be exposed to uphold his mission, so be it. Before Wrath and Scorn could make good on their threat, the policeman in charge removed his disguise, Joker. With a gleeful cackle, he unleashed Joker gas, leaving the brothers convulsing in insane laughter, unable to speak a coherent word. His competition was eliminated, and Joker vanished into the night, leaving Batman's secrets safe. As the Batmobile roared to life, Batman and Robin sped off into the night. The chase was far from over. Episode 63, What Goes Up? In the Arkham Asylum cell, a grinning Black Mask sits tightly as doctors surround him, eager to pry the mask from his face. However, he warned them with smug confidence that he won't be holed up there forever. As if on cue, the lights flickered, and a shadow slithered across the room. Before the guards and doctors could react, a dark figure emerged from the darkness, knocking them out one by one. Black Mask wasted no time, slipping through the window and into the river below. His men were waiting for him on the shore, along with his mysterious rescuer, the Shadow Thief. Back at the Batcave, Batman and Robin studied Arkham's security footage. Their suspicions were confirmed that night when Shadow Thief broke into the Gotham Museum, attempting to steal a meteorite from Hawkman's home planet. But he wasn't as stealthy as he thought. An alarm blared, summoning Black Mask, who arrived furious at his partner's failure. As the police swarmed the museum, Black Mask's henchman, Number 1, held them off. Batman and Robin swooped in, taking on the thugs, but Shadow Thief's ghostly form made him untouchable. Just as things seemed dire, Hawkman arrived, striking Shadow Thief and sending him reeling. But before the heroes could secure the villains, Black Mask and his crew made their escape. The Shadow Thief hesitated for only a moment before slipping into the getaway car. In the Batcave, Hawkman revealed Shadow Thief's true identity: Carl Sands, a man who used a dimensiometer to shift between solid and shadow form. The meteorite Sands had tried to steal contained nth metal, the same substance that gave Hawkman flight by negating gravity. Meanwhile, in his hideout, Black Mask extracted the nth metal and combined it with a chemical agent, creating a spray that made objects weightless. As a demonstration, he doused Number 1 in the substance, sending him floating helplessly into the sky before appointing a new Number 1, this time a woman. Shadow Thief, annoyed at being overlooked, promised that the heroes wouldn't stop them. An anonymous tip led Batman and his team to Shadow Thief, who was spraying railroad tracks with the nth metal formula. The next train that passed floated off the tracks, rising into the air. While the heroes scrambled to prevent it from drifting into space, Black Mask and his men sprayed the Gotham Gem Depository's foundation, causing it to float. Mask followed in a helicopter, boarding the weightless building in mid-air. As Batman and Robin secured the train, Hawkman carried them toward the airborne depository. Robin was hit with the nth metal and began drifting upward, but Hawkman rescued him. Batman, meanwhile, struck Shadow Thief's dimensiometer with a batarang, trapping him in solid form. Hawkman took out the helicopter, sending it crashing into the depository, knocking the nth metal loose. The building plummeted, but Hawkman guided it away from the city, landing it safely in Gotham Bay. With the villains captured and Gotham safe, the heroes took a moment to breathe. The next morning, Dick watched the news report on Gotham's newest tourist mark and decides he needs a dip.
My powers.
Episode 64, Lost Heroes, Part 1. Another fine day fights crime in the city. As it happens, both Batman and Superman are in pursuit of the elusive Toyman when explosions erupt around them. As the smoke clears, Batman realizes the other hero is gone. Meanwhile, Flash and Green Arrow track Mirror Master to the central city fairground. They corner him in a carnival house of mirrors, only for gas to pour in from hidden barrels. As Green Arrow loses consciousness, he sees Flash being dragged away. Back at the Batcave, Batman, Green Arrow, and Green Lantern meet with Martian Manhunter. Hawkman has vanished too. The pattern is clear. Only heroes with powers are being taken. Determined to track their missing teammates, the League returns to the fairground, where they're ambushed. Fire engulfs Martian Manhunter, while yellow electric droids overwhelm Green Lantern. Batman and Green Arrow fight to save them, but when the smoke clears, their teammates are gone. Later, while analysing strange radio transmitters found at the crime scene, Batman dozes off. In his dream, he sees the missing heroes, restrained and glowing with energy. A ghostly Martian Manhunter whispers a name: Hugo Strange. A while later, Batman, Robin, and Green Arrow head to Arkham. Passing Mr. Freeze and a grinning Joker, they reach Strange's cell, only to find a robotic imposter. Destroying the android, they trace its signal to an underground bunker, where they're captured by the real Hugo Strange. The villain opens up about his next move. He has struck a deal with the Joining, an alien race once defeated by the Justice League. In exchange for helping them neutralize Earth's heroes, he will receive ultimate universal knowledge. Breaking free, Batman and his allies rescue their teammates, only to face a greater horror. 5 androids emerge, each wielding the stolen powers of the captured heroes. Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, and Martian Manhunter stand powerless. The battle for their abilities has only begun. Episode 65, Lost Heroes, Part 2. The episode picks up after the last one. Justice League had one advantage: the androids couldn't fully wield their stolen powers. Even so, the League was outmatched. Forced to retreat, they escaped Hugo Strange's hideout in a stolen Joining aircraft, with Batman piloting them to safety. There, they regrouped with Batgirl at a tech lab beneath Wayne Industries. Meanwhile, Strange, believing his work was done, demanded the ultimate reward, the knowledge of the universe. The joining obliged, but as an alien being stepped through a portal and granted his wish, the sheer influx of knowledge left Strange in a catatonic state. In the lab, Batman equipped his powerless teammates with specialized weapons. Superman with a kryptonite gun, Green Lantern with a yellow dust blaster, and so on. Armed but still at a disadvantage, they launched an ambush against the androids, now tearing through Gotham in search of them. Though the weapons worked, the effect was temporary until Robin discovered a weak spot on the androids' chests. Destroying the stolen emblems restored the heroes' powers, and together they returned to Strange's lair. But it was too late. He was already lost in his own mind. From what remained, Martian Manhunter learned the truth. An invasion fleet was coming. Superman and Green Lantern took to the skies, battling an onslaught of joining ships. Flash and Green Arrow defended the city, but they were outnumbered. Batman proposed a desperate solution, using Strange's mind to broadcast a virus into the joining's network. Before they could, the same alien that had gifted Strange his knowledge returned to silence him. Batman and Robin engaged the creature, forcing it into the power transfer chamber, where residual energy transformed it into an even greater threat. As it turned on Martian Manhunter, Batgirl finished the virus upload. The alien collapsed, its energy flickering out, just as every joining fighter shut down. The fleet crashed into Gotham Bay, and Green Lantern hurled the mothership into the sun. Back at the Watchtower, the League watched the explosion. Superman acknowledged that without Batman and Green Arrow, they might not have won. Green Arrow, once bitter about the power divide, smirked. As the League celebrated, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl stood together, gazing down at Earth satisfactorily. With that, this series comes to an end. The 65 episodes and 5 seasons of this 2004 Batman series are one of the most novel DC animated shows, as it reinvents the titular character like never before. Each season had an exclusive emphasis and moved in progress from foundation building to the ultimate Justice League cooperation. Like in the first season, a younger, less seasoned Batman graces the screens. He is clearly struggling to maintain his dual identities and his mission's morality. However, as the show rolled on, Batman improved himself and faced some of his most formidable foes, the Joker, the Riddler, and the Penguin, rather valiantly. The story gradually delved deeper into Gotham's underworld and Bruce's inner turmoil, and by season 3, it started to explore deeper psychological topics. Surprisingly, season 4 focused on Batman's relationships, particularly with his friends. However, it did maintain its edgier streaks. The final season focused on action and concluded long-running narratives. This unique perspective on the Batman legend earned the program positive reviews. The series' darker tone, character development, and nuanced Gotham villains impressed critics and fans. However, fans of past Batman adaptations disliked the visual style and divergence from classic Batman representations. Nevertheless, The Batman, 2004 to 2008, was still regarded as an ambitious series that caught the Dark Knight's soul and set the path for a more sophisticated superhero interpretation. If you have liked our content so far, don't forget to like the video and please subscribe to our channel for more of this cartoon awesomeness.